Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto had Wety Harem with Luna from Harry Potter? Before we start, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Now enjoy the video. Normal talk that I have written will be normal. Also, I blame dimensional portal powers for the fact that travelers can understand everything about the new world's main language, both oral and written. So no Japanese, English or Japanese, English like other fanfics have done. It gets very confusing when they switch it on you between chapters. Thoughts will be italicized. Spells and jutsu that are called out will be underlined. Unless of course this website hates me and removes all my underlines over and over. Demons, Biju, and other powerful, loud beings will be in bold. Expelliarmus. Avada Kedavra. When their two spells hit each other, a most unusual thing happened. The two jets of light became a single beam of white magic, and a bead of energy started wavering between the two. As the bead became larger, magic started spilling out like waves against a rock. Then, the beam lifted the two wizards off the ground and into the air, surrounding them with a clear, golden barrier. The barrier seemed to have some effect on the Death Eaters. Many were pulling out their wands and pointing them either at Harry or at the nearest point of the barrier. Voldemort, however, saw their movements. Do nothing. Harry is mine. Their wands started to shake harder and harder, and they both noticed the bead was moving towards Harry. Putting his other hand on his wand, Harry willed the bead back with all his mental abilities. Slowly, but surely, the bead slowed and turned around. As the bead approached Voldemort's wand, Harry's wand shook less while his shook more. When the bead hit Voldemort's wand, something nobody expected occurred. Voldemort's wand gave shrieks of pain. When it stopped, a silver hand appeared, followed by more screams. Then, slowly but surely, Cedric Diggory came out of Voldemort's wand. Seeing his best friend as a solid ghost almost made Harry drop his wand. However, he kept clutching at it, preventing the bead from moving away from Voldemort. Voldemort started looking fearful, as one of his victims had returned to a half-life like he had. The Death Eaters were frightened at this boy's appearance as well. Voldemort had killed many people, both Muggle and powerful, using his wand. The Death Eaters feared that, since Cedric came back from the dead, who else would come? Suddenly, another ghost appeared. This one was of the Gravekeeper, fearing that many of their defeated enemies would come back to haunt them. One of the Death Eaters quickly pointed his wand at the Golden Dome and shouted a muffled spell. "No, I command you to do nothing," Voldemort yelled. However, the damage was done. The spell hit the dome. Suddenly, the connection between their wands snapped and the dome started to collapse, quickly retreating from a golden clear dome into a silver opaque sphere. Voldemort and Harry were at the outer edges of the dome, so they quickly passed through and fell to the ground. When the sphere was about 6 feet across, it suddenly flashed brightly. Everyone was forced to look away. When they looked back, they saw somebody falling from where the sphere disappeared. Even though the sphere was only a few yards off the ground, this boy fell quickly, as if he was falling from a higher point. When he hit the ground, a small earthquake occurred and debris flew into the air. Stunned, nobody thought to either help or attack the person. Ouch! Ow! Ow! Wait a second, that doesn't even hurt that much. Now that the dust had cleared, everyone could see this mysterious person better. He was obviously a boy, since he had a deeper voice and was shirtless. He had blonde spiky hair, amber eyes, and 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. His body was very toned, like he exercised, and he had a simple necklace with a sapphire jewel hanging in the front. The boy also appeared to have weird orange makeup around his eyes, and the fact that his pupils were rectangular. Quickly, the boy turned to look up towards where he had fallen from. "Pa, Sage Mode is awesome. Pa. Where'd you go, Pa? Wait, this isn't Mount Miyoboku. Where am I?" With those words said, the boy looked around, apparently looking for Pa. He first saw Harry, clearly injured and weak from the Crucio curses, focusing on the beads that connected his and Voldemort's wand, and the fall. The blonde then saw the surrounding Death Eaters, frozen over the fact that a young boy could survive being slammed into the ground that hard with barely a scratch on him. He then turned all the way around and saw Voldemort. At the sight of the hooded, pale man, the blonde froze for a second, then responded with rage. "Orochimaru. What are you doing here?" Realizing something, The blonde turned back towards Harry. Harry then saw something different that scared him. The blonde kid's makeup seemed to become more reddish, and his eyes gained an animal-like pupil along with his rectangular pupil. Coming to a realization, the blonde turned back to Voldemort and said, "There's no way you'll get this boy too." Realizing that this boy was threatening him, Voldemort and his followers quickly raised their wands. However, they and Harry were confused, since this mysterious boy didn't seem to have a wand. How was he planning to do? "So you want to fight with a stick now?" the boy asked. The wizards were shocked. Were they being challenged by an ignorant, weak muggle? Meanwhile, this boy was thinking, if those sticks aren't for show, they are either for bloodline techniques or Orochimaru found a way to skip making dozens of hand seals. This means he can quickly use high-powered just you without having to make each hand seal individually. Not to mention, he seems to have brought some of his experiments and followers who can use the same sticks. Just how important is this kid behind me? If you want to fight with more of your curse-marked followers, I'll fight too. If Voldemort and his followers were surprised that the child supposedly knew about their dark mark, yet was ignorant of magic, they were dumbfounded by what was about to happen. Thinking clearly and heatedly, Naruto remembered one of the limitations of Sage Mode. Pa said that if I don't have enough chakra in me, I won't be able to control nature energy, and I'll transform into a stone toad. If I use too many shadow clones, my chakra will be distributed to dangerous levels for Sage Mode. So I have to exit Sage Mode to deal with these guys. Quickly, the boy's makeup disappeared. The Death Eaters saw that he had normal, blue eyes. The boy then brought his fingers into a cross, and yelled, "Multi-shadow. Clone Jutsu." Suddenly, the air around Harry was surrounded with puffs and smoke. When the smoke cleared, they saw 11 of the blonde boys surrounding Harry. This boy was using hand signs instead of a wand, and English words instead of Latin spells. This seemingly muggle child, who had no knowledge of magic or wands, had just made 10 illusions of himself to throw their aim off. While illusion charms weren't unheard of, it was rare to hear of one that didn't cover and disguise a wizard, let alone see one. Apparently, the boy was surprised too. "Only 10? I was going for 50. Some of the Death Eaters wondered why this child wanted to make 50 illusions of himself to protect Harry. It wasn't as if those illusions could hurt them or stop their spells. "Well, even if it's only 10, I'll make the best of it." With that, 7 of the blondes rushed the Death Eaters and 2 rushed Voldemort. They all reached into their pouches on their leg, pulled out black knives, and threw them. While they were still surprised at the boy, the Death Eaters knew a weapon when they saw one, and quickly shielded or deflected the knives. When they saw that their spells had an effect on the knives, they realized that this wasn't an illusion. An illusion would either disappear upon being hit by another spell or act as if the other spell never hit it. Even when the thrown knives failed, the blondes kept coming. The Death Eaters who had only blocked the knives realized their mistake when the blondes picked up their knives in midair and managed to stab through their shield charms. Knowing that they were under attack, many of the Death Eaters apparated to another part of the graveyard to get some distance from this weird kid. However, seeing the shield charms seemed to anger the blonde. The clones, because they couldn't be called illusions anymore, yelled out, "Be careful. Some of them have Hyuga DNA." If the Death Eaters weren't confused as to what DNA was, they clearly were dumbfounded as to what a Hyuga was. However, it was Voldemort who was having trouble. While the Death Eaters were fighting one blonde each, Voldemort had to take on 2. They were fast, and able to dodge his crucios. After a while, with Voldemort tired of deflecting many of their knives, the 2 blondes joined up and put their hands together. Between them, Voldemort could see a blue orb growing. Fearing what kind of magic would need that much preparation, he quickly yelled, "Crucio." However, it didn't have the effect he wanted. The clone he hit did appear to be in pain, but it was only for a brief second. When that second passed, a poof was heard and smoke was thrown up. When it dispersed, all the blondes gave a brief cry of "ow" at the same time, and Voldemort saw that the clone he hit had vanished. Thinking quickly, he realized what happened and barked an order to his loyal followers. "Cast Crucio on them all. The real one will be hit, but a copy will vanish and give its pain to all of them." Darn it. He knows the weakness of shadow clones, the boy thought. But that's not Orochimaru's voice, nor hair nor nose for that matter. Does this guy even have a nose? But no matter who he is, I won't let him have that boy. With that thought, the boy with the blue orb rushed Voldemort. Realizing the cost of diverting his attention to his followers, Voldemort turned quickly and cried out, Crucio. However, he didn't hit the boy. He hit the orb the boy was carrying, but when it hit the ball, something happened. The ball started giving off a weird blue fog, and wails were heard coming from it. Surprised, the boy jerked his hand forward, the ball was launched right at Voldemort. Shocked at what happened, the Dark Lord didn't have time to block it, and the orb made contact. And that contact was worse than Voldemort could handle. While the ball seemed to be tearing at his newly born body, he also felt the effects of his Crucio, multiplied by 5. While the pain was excruciating, it lasted only for a few seconds. He quickly recovered and cast a levitation charm at the attacking boy, followed by a body bind curse. Trapped, the boy could do nothing against him. Taking advantage of this, Voldemort quickly used Legilimency to figure out who, and what, he was fighting. Realizing what was happening, the blonde somehow poofed himself without first being in pain. However, Voldemort saw something in the boy's mind that he had missed. 9 clones were sent to fight the Death Eaters, so where was the 10th and the original? He turned to where he had left Harry and saw that he was missing. Turning quickly, he saw Harry and one blonde, it must have been the original, grab hold of the portkey and disappear. Enraged, Voldemort slaughtered all the clones left behind with quick and multiple Avada Kedavra. But it was too late, the clones had successfully distracted the Death Eaters long enough for him and Potter to escape. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong. Wait a few hours for a response, then edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Anticipated review critiques. 1. Yes, Naruto's 1/5 shadow clone will be explained. 2. Yes, I counted the number of Death Eaters that appear in the book. While I'm mostly basing the Naruto part off the anime, I will draw from both the HP books and the HP movies, depending on which version I think I can tweak better. At the graveyard, we have, in order of final addressing, Avery, Wormtail, Malfoy, McNair, Crabbe, Goyle, and Knott. However, it wasn't until I got to the point where I had to type the ratio of Death Eaters to Shadow Clones that I looked it up and realized I got the number exactly right. 3. No. Using the killing curse won't kill Naruto. In my multiverse, the killing curse causes chakra depletion. Since wizards don't know about chakra, and likely have puny chakra reserves, they can't identify chakra depletion as a method of killing. And, as we all know, a chakra-depleted clone will only poof, not make his companions killed as well. However, because the shadow clones died of chakra depletion, they can't give back to Naruto any stored chakra or gathered nature chakra, but they do return memories up to the point of chakra loss. If Naruto is hit by a killing curse, and since killing curses have power levels, minimum amount that can be overloaded, like other curses, he can be anywhere from killed to depleted of a large portion of his chakra. Reviews won't necessarily bring out prepped chapters faster, well, maybe, if I get a large volume, but will encourage and may inspire me to prep more chapters more often, which will lead to smaller hiatus periods or none at all. Peace out. Anonymous GX, a strange man. I'm gonna try and keep this part of the ANs short and sweet from now on, since I covered almost everything in the first chapter's preface. Also, since the last chapter was more third person and Potterverse POV, this one will be more predominantly Naruto. And because of that, Naruto's name will actually come up this chapter. However, I'm not good at first person POV, so I'll write it from his POV in mostly third person. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong. Wait a few hours for a response, then edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Naruto was on the ride of his life. He had been thrown around by hundreds of punches and kicks from both enemies and a certain ally, reverse summoned, and eaten by oversized snakes and toads. He even used the substitution jutsu a couple times, but didn't like to use it much in battle because he lost his ramen doing it once. But even substitution was nothing compared to what Lightinghead called a portkey, and since his last meal was bugs, he'd be lucky if he didn't lose those once this was over. Too late. At least Scarhead didn't see him do that. Naruto just hopes that wherever those half-digested insects ended up during this, portkey, super slow reverse flying Thunder God technique, it was on that Orochimaru wannabe's cloak. Since his queasiness left with the bugs, Naruto reviewed what he learned about this place he was reverse summoned to. First, jutsu is used with sticks and words instead of hand signs and sometimes words. That means if Naruto and a stick wielder were to do the same jutsu, the stick user would likely complete his before Naruto did. Second, they don't need words, and maybe sticks, to use the substitution, like many ninja, but they don't need to substitute something in their place, and their version is noisy. Also, if they did substitute, why didn't they wait until the moment they were attacked to misdirect my attacks and waste my energy? Did they have that bad of reflexes? Third, there's an Orochimaru look-alike with no nose on the loose, but at least this one didn't have a snake with him. Suddenly, Naruto was assaulted with the memories of his dispelled shadow clones. Great, he who has no sense has a big snake too. At least, he can't summon a humongous one. Another Manda would be a pain to deal with, even with a chakra enhanced sword. Fourth, Lightning Head had refused to leave without Cedric's body. Clearly this kid hasn't seen war, or anything like his Chunin exam where Orochimaru showed up. If he had, he would have known the urgency to retreat and would only look after the dead after the battle's over and the area secured. Fifth, these ninjas seemed to rely on their jutsu too much. They were way out of shape and slow, even their bony leader. A little while later, Naruto felt the tug on his navel change, and knew they were about to make a landing. Sure enough, the ground appeared in front of them. Rather than fall on his face, Naruto tucked in, rolled when he hit the ground, and came up quickly, ready to defend himself, Lightning Head, and Cedric. What he saw astounded him. He was in the middle of a large stadium, with applauding stands spreading high and around him. Were those two boys in an exam? Must be some competition if no nose was allowed in. Naruto thought to himself. On one stand were a bunch of men in thick fur coats. When they saw Naruto, they seemed to scrutinize him before giving him a small nod. Apparently, they recognized the warrior in him and accepted him. On another stand were a bunch of cute girls in sky blue uniforms with dresses cut short above the knee. These girls saw his dramatic entrance, took one look at Naruto's sweaty, buff chest, and started blushing, whispering, or even squealing. New to having cute girls admire him, and his vantage point, Naruto felt two massive nosebleed rockets start their countdowns, but quickly aborted the missions and looked somewhere else. On the final stand was a group of kids in green, blue, red, and yellow, who were focused on Scarhead and Cedric rather than Naruto. Seeing as the two had similar red and yellow shirts as that group, Naruto assumed they were from the same group as the two. From these stands, an old man with a huge beard came running up to them, followed closely by a few other people. The old man's robes, looks, and twinkle in his eye even during this sad time, reminded Naruto a little of his old man Sarutobi. Naruto let them pass, but one didn't. It was a stout man with a huge crazily spinning eye and a metal limb. This eye guy didn't rush past, but stopped and growled at Naruto. Naruto sensed that this person was like Ibiki of T.I. back in Konoha, and had a short stare off before stepping aside and letting him pass. After a short time, one of the men that ran down was grieving over Cedric's body. The old man, after comforting both Lightning Head and the man who seemed to be Cedric's father, turned to Naruto. "Good evening. I am Professor Dumbledore. May I ask, who are you, and how did you end up with Harry?" Naruto, reminded more and more of Sarutobi, nicknamed the God of Shinobi and the Professor, decided to trust this man, at least partially. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I somehow wound up in a graveyard with Harry and a group of people led by an Orochimaru imitator. Do you mind getting me some food? I used up a lot more chakra than I expected saving Harry, and the portkey didn't agree with me." With that, Naruto's stomach rumbled loudly. Hearing that, Dumbledore's eyes twinkled a little more, and said, "I don't know what chakra is, but I can send for a house elf to get food. Why don't I take you and Harry back up to the castle? We can talk more in my office." With that, they both turned back to where the two boys were left. However, only one was left, and it was the one who couldn't walk on his own. Looking around, Naruto said, "Harry's gone, and so is Moody Eye Guy." "You mean Professor Moody?" inquired Dumbledore. "Something about this isn't adding up. Dumbledore thought worriedly. The moody guy with that freaky eye and metal leg. Yes, responded Naruto. He too could figure out what happened, since the man seemed like Ibiki. He probably took Harry to his private room in order to interrogate him for information. I think he took Harry. Do you know where he works? Yes, I do, in his office, replied Dumbledore. However, the Mad-Eye Moody I know wouldn't take Harry away from me. I think he's an imposter. Stay here, I'll take care of him. I'm coming too. If Mad-Eye is a spy, I'll catch him. Believe it, Naruto practically shouted. A few of the pretty girls in sky blue who heard him swooned from his determination, but Naruto was too determined to notice them. You can help by finding me Professor Snape. He has very slick black hair, a large hooked nose, and wears all black. Tell him to meet me at Professor Moody's office with the strongest Wety serum he has. I can do both. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Remembering he had to put in about 5 times more chakra in than normal, Naruto made a single Shadow Clone. Now I can come with you and find this Snape-sensei. Many of the sky blue girls saw him clone himself, squealed, and fainted. Some more imaginative girls thought how the clones could be used, then joined their friends in La La Land. And that I feel can't wait for the bottom. For those who think this part hints at I'm told 2 parts of what makes shopping fun for girls is making a fashion show out of it and making the guy carry it all home. Imagine popular girls having multiple Narutos posing for them in various swimsuits, followed by dozens of him carrying their shopping sprees results back home for them. The clone Naruto dashed off to find Snape. Then the real Naruto started running off, but then stopped and turned around sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Do you know where Moody's office is? The sky blue girls who were still conscious almost facepalmed at this action. How could a hot guy like him be a forgetful idiot? When they got to Moody's office, Dumbledore pulled out his own stick. Okay. What's with these people? Naruto thought. Is this the village hidden in the twigs in Branch Country? And why haven't I heard of it? Why can't they use jutsu the normal way? Dumbledore then said, Bombarda. That word made the entire door explode and cave in, without any evidence of a light. Not wasting time, Dumbledore strode through the dust and debris, and shouted, Expelliarmus. Naruto saw a flicker of faster light hit Moody's outstretched hand, making his wand fly out of his grasp. So that's why. I would take a long time to make a Rasengan that explosive, and don't have a jutsu that could disarm enemy ninja like that. Acting quickly, Naruto followed up Dumbledore by punching Moody in the face, which knocked him into a chair, then by pulling out some ninja wire to tie Moody up. When Naruto turned around, Harry was staring at him open-mouthed and Dumbledore was talking to a man who must have been Professor Snape. Snape didn't have just slick hair, he had greasy hair. The 2 adults were saying something about polyjuice and Wety serum. Those words confused Naruto and his still active clone apparently was too. He decided to let the clone listen to the adults and turned back to Harry. Sorry we're late. Did he hurt you? No, he just asked me about what happened in the graveyard and revealed that he's a Death Eater. What's a Death Eater? I'd call myself a ramen eater, but I haven't heard of death food. If I did, I think it would have tasted like ash or pomegranate or something, Naruto mused. What is? Never mind. Death Eaters are followers of Voldemort. You fought him and 7 Death Eaters in the graveyard. Oh. So, can you explain about the sticks, those weird light jutsus, and the portkey we used to get here? Harry was flabbergasted. This young wizard really knew nothing about the wizarding world? Maybe he was a traveler or a muggle-born on the run. That would explain why he didn't know about Death Eaters and used hand signs and hand motions to make his spells rather than a purchased wand. But those 2 spells Naruto used were still unfamiliar with Harry. Well, I can explain, if you then explain where you're from, how you made those copies of yourself in that blue orb, and where you pulled all that string from. As much as I'd love to hear them, maybe we should save each other's explanations for later. Right now, the explanation I'm interested in is Barty Crouch Jr. S. Dumbledore commented. Naruto and Harry turned to see who he was talking about. Sure enough, Moody was a fake. Where he was tied up, a skinnier, paler man with a crazed look in his eyes now was bound. Naruto's clone tightened the now loose ninja wire and helped the adults force-feed Crouch some kind of liquid, apparently either polyjuice or Wety serum. He had his clone tell him that they called that drink Wety Harem, but still didn't know what it did. After that, about 10 minutes of shock followed. Both Narutos was surprised a little drink could make even a crazy person spill all their secrets and hand them over on a silver platter. If only Ibiki and I had this, he'd be both excited and bored out of a job. While all the things Crouch said made some sense, Naruto had no idea what many of the words he said meant. Why would a prison have blind Dementor guards, or were they like sensory-type ninjas? But even sensory-type ninjas could tell the difference between two people with the same amount of chakra. How did an imperious curse control you? How could a cloak make you invisible without a constant source of chakra? Are there really memory charms that can wipe minds? What is Quidditch? Harry had a map that could see where people were too. Were wands those sticks these people used? These and many more questions flooded Naruto's mind. But even those couldn't top the 7-locked chest Crouch had. What kind of seals make that thing work? It's not a storage seal, because it has an open top. But it's not a normal chest, because the same space has different contents depending on how it's opened. At the end of his confession, Crouch promptly fainted. Seeing as he wouldn't get anything more out of him, Dumbledore turned to the others. Harry, you need rest. Go see Madame Pomfrey in the hospital wing for your injuries and rest there overnight. I don't think you want the commotion waiting for you in the Gryffindor common room. Professor Snape, please stay here and watch over Barty until the Ministry arrive, then hand him over to them. Tell the Ministry what he told us under Wety Harem. And Uzumaki, please come with me to my office. I'd like to hear your version of what happened, and learn more about this chakra. And that's that. Let me know how I did. Even if you don't have an account, you should still be able to make a nickname and comment that way. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. I can't think of any more review critiques, complaints for this. The only one I can think of, Naruto's low on chakra and using more than he should. Of course he can't be more awesome in taking down Crouch. Why he's low is to be explained in the next chapter, which will be no action, boring, and mostly explanatory. Peace out. Anonymous GX. A strange castle, a strange history. So here's the boring stuff where many things are explained. If you want action, you may need to wait a few chapters. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Naruto decided to leave the clone behind with Snape and Crouch and follow Dumbledore. Once they had left Professor Moody's office, Naruto had a better chance to look around. Apparently, Moody's office was connected to what appeared to be a classroom. He saw it was dark and mostly barren, with desks for students and a teacher. When he looked up, he gawked at what appeared to be a giant bat's skeleton. However, he soon saw that this bat had a horn on its head and a long tail. Is that a dragon? Naruto asked Professor Dumbledore. Why yes, Dumbledore replied. It's rare to find a complete skeleton of a dragon. This one is even rarer. It came from a male Hungarian horntail. They're about 2/3 the size of the females and have an extra horn above their jaws. It's pretty big, but Chief Toad can easily squash a live horntail, believe it, Naruto exclaimed. I'll have to meet this Chief Toad one day. Let's get up to my office, and we can talk more in detail, Dumbledore replied in a curious yet composed fashion. His eyes then twinkled, and he said, should I lead the way, or do you want to run off on your own and find it? At this, Naruto calmed down and, embarrassed, said, lead the way. Outside the classroom were many hallways, twisting and turning around the castle. There were a few teenagers wandering around, but they made a clear path for Dumbledore. Naruto walked in his wake, and heard some students talking about him. It was mostly questions about who he was, comments about his looks, and the occasional comment by a girl about his chest. I really need to get a shirt, Naruto thought to himself. These teens were wearing horrible clothes. Restricting pants, thick shirts, and large cloaks. With those uniforms, it's no wonder they don't learn taijutsu, Naruto commented to himself. He was in for another shock when they reached the staircases. It was a large one, with portraits hanging from every wall. Dumbledore walked a few steps onto one set of stars, then stood still. Naruto stood right next to him for a second. Impatient, he was about to ask him why they weren't moving when he felt the staircase shudder. Reacting, he channeled chakra to his feet and jumped onto the wall behind him. But he saw the shudder was nothing dangerous. In fact, the whole staircase moved to the right. While recovering from that surprise, he received another. "What villain is this, standing upon my face? Have at thee." This voice came from somewhere behind Naruto. "Oh, sorry," Naruto said, jumping down onto the floor. "Wait, who said that?" Naruto turned around, looking for the source of that voice. All he saw were many portraits. In one of these was of an old knight with a broken visor. "'Twas I, Sir Cadogan," the knight replied, fixing his visor. Seeing the knight respond, Naruto started freaking out. "How are you moving and talking? You're just a painting." At that, the knight sputtered. "Just a painting. I'll have you know, I was one of King Arthur's Knight of the Round Table. I was sent to battle the Wyvern of Wye, and died to succeed." "You died?" Naruto asked. His face then became pale, and he shrieked, "Dumbledore, you have a GGG ghost haunting your picture." "A ghost? You called me?" The knight yelled as well. "I am no phantom. For that insult, I challenge thee, knave, to a battle to the death for my honor." "Naruto, please calm down," Dumbledore said. "Sir Cadogan isn't a ghost, nor does he have one here at Hogwarts. While this castle does have ghosts, they're all friendly and don't interact with students that often." With that, Naruto calmed down a little, but was still edgy at the thought of real ghosts being in the castle. After the staircase stopped moving, Naruto and Dumbledore continued up a few floors, all the while being followed through other live portraits by that crazed knight wanting a duel. Once they were on the right floor, they walked through more corridors, then came to a stop in front of a griffin-like stone gargoyle in an alcove. Dumbledore approached it and said, "Fudge flies." That word appeared to be a password, because the gargoyle and its pedestal started to spiral upwards, creating a staircase as it went. Getting used to all the strangeness, Naruto quickly followed Dumbledore up the stairs and into what must have been his office. His office was so large, it had 2 floors. Along the walls of both floors, extending from floor to ceiling, were stuffed bookshelves and cabinets full of weird silver machines and instruments. In the center of the room was Dumbledore's large desk, and a large red and gold bird was near it to Naruto's right on a perch. While Naruto had been looking around the room in wonder, Dumbledore had moved to stand next to his desk. "Now that we're here, let's talk about what happened in the graveyard about an hour ago. Would you like an acid pop?" After a somewhat satisfied belly and a lengthy explanation of what occurred, Dumbledore asked for more details about this boy in front of him. "I must ask, where are you from, Uzumaki, and how did you learn these jutsu?" "Please call me Naruto, Dumbledore Gigi. That is my name. Uzumaki is my family name." "Interesting. And you also called Professor Snape, Snape-sensei." Thoughtfully, Dumbledore pulled out a wand and pointed it at his throat. After muttering something under his breath, he said, "So are you from Japan?" "No," Naruto replied. "I'm a ninja genin from Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves." "And what was that just you used on your neck?" "Finite," Dumbledore said. "That was a translation charm. I had switched from English to Japanese. For future reference, Naruto, in English, we don't use honorifics, and when we introduce our full names, we say our given name first and our family name last." "Wait, I've been speaking in English this entire time?" Naruto asked. "That doesn't make any sense. I speak Japanese only. Did that circle that brought me here mess with my mind?" Quickly, Naruto accessed his mindscape and practically shouted, "Kyuubi, are you there? Something strange is happening." "It took you this long to figure that out? I'm surprised. I thought it would take longer for my idiot of a jailer to catch on." Hearing that, Naruto ignored the jibe and calmed down a little. "So, can you tell me what's going on?" Naruto asked, "at least about this language thing? I don't know where we're brat. However, whatever that sphere did, it also gave you the ability to talk to whoever you meet. Your mind still thinks, hears, and reads in Japanese, but everyone else will be speaking, reading, and writing in this English language. That's the only change I can see in you from behind these wretched bars. When he returned to the real world, Naruto saw Dumbledore looking at him expectantly. I'm sorry, what did you ask me? Naruto replied, hoping above all else Dumbledore had asked a question and not said anything else. I had asked what you were doing before the circle brought you to the graveyard. Oh. I was training with Pa on reaching Sage Mode without the oils. I need to learn Sage Mode quickly, before pain attacks Konoha, Naruto replied. Then, shocked, he said, "Pa, I almost forgot. I've been gone for over an hour. I better tell him what happened." Naruto quickly went through a few hand seals and said, "Summoning Jutsu." A smoke cloud and poof similar to when Naruto created a clone occurred, but was a lot smaller. Out of it appeared a wizened toad. He was sitting cross-legged, and looking downward with a shocked look on his face. "Naru, wait a moment, who summoned me?" At that, the toad calmed down and looked around. While he did so, Dumbledore noticed the toad spoke in Japanese, and quickly performed the translation charm on himself again. "Naruto boy, what happened? One instant you fell into a silver sphere, the next you're summoning me into this office. What do you mean by that, Pa? I've been gone for over an hour." Naruto told this toad, who Dumbledore understood to be Pa. "An hour? Let me check something." Saying that, Pa sat back down and closed his eyes. After a few seconds, he looked up. "Naruto boy, how you find your way into trouble astounds me to no end. Somehow, you are in another dimension. This isn't anywhere in the ninja nations." "Not in the ninja nations? How do you know that?" "The nature chakra here feels different, and is a lot heavier. It's so heavy, it's repressing my chakra, and I have to use more chakra than normal to maintain any jutsu and summonings. It was too easy for me to gather the nature chakra, but it acted weird when I pulled it into my body. Therefore, I concluded that we are not in a world that uses the same nature chakra, and must be on another planet. However, if this was another planet, it would move through time at the same speed as the ninja nations. Because of the difference in time's flow, I guessed that we're no longer in the same universe." "Oh, I think I get it. So, can you guys reverse summon me back to Mount Myoboku?" "We can try. However, I doubt it, no matter how much chakra we use. Reverse summoning is different from a summoning jutsu. You could summon me using a space-time jutsu because you signed the contract. However, reverse summoning is a space seal jutsu, rather than a space-time hand seal jutsu. And because these two worlds are moving at different speeds of time, it would be near impossible for us to return you to Mount Myoboku. I'm surprised you were able to summon me at all. How interesting. You too could summon objects and people from other lands quickly," Dumbledore commented, catching the attention of the two toad sages. "Naruto boy, who is this man? He reminds me of Sarutobi," Pa commented. "That is Professor Dumbledore. He's in charge of this academy," Naruto replied. "Professor Dumbledore, this is Fukasaku, or Pa. He's the great toad sage, and was teaching me to access Sage Mode." "How curious. Fukasaku, can you please explain to me what chakra and Sage Mode is?" Dumbledore requested. He was still curious as to what those were, since Naruto didn't give an explanation. "Certainly, chakra is a mix of a person's physical and spiritual energies. Ninjas can access this energy through training. They are able to use this energy to improve their physical performance and use jutsu. By forming hand seals and applying chakra to each one, ninjas can use jutsu attacks, defenses, or illusions. Sage Mode is a special state, where a person gathers into their body chakra from nature, mixes it with their normal chakra, and uses this mix to create sage jutsu. While in this state, sages are able to sense nature chakra and other people's chakra." "Thank you. Now, are you still in this Sage Mode?" "Yes, I am. I can sense many humans around, a bunch of short creatures tending to food, a few ghost-like things drifting through the castle, and some kind of floating creature accompanying somebody through the castle gates. I guess that is Fudge, arriving with a Dementor bodyguard. That is unusual, even for him. But that matter aside, can you tell me what you see when I perform a spell?" With that, Dumbledore turned to a book on his deck. Wingardium Leviosa. With that, the book started to float off the table. If that astounded Fukasaku, what surprised him even more is what he saw through Sage Mode. "Astounding. Your stick is gathering nature chakra at its tip. There. The stick is using your spiritual energy to mold the nature energy into a beam that's holding the book up. At that, Naruto got excited and confused. That's awesome. But, what does it mean? For that explanation, Dumbledore took the stand. It appears that there are 3 different energies at work between Sage Mode and magic. Sage Mode takes physical energy, spiritual energy, and nature energy. For simplicity, let's call these 3 energies Kai, Aura, and Mana. Normal ninjas use a mix of their physical Kai and spiritual aura to make chakra. Do you understand me so far? Naruto. Yes, but what does Mana have to do with it? That, my dear boy, is simple. Mana isn't chakra, but a similar type of energy. When sages wield it, they internalize it and mix it with their chakra. When wizards use it, they direct and channel it outside of their bodies by using their aura. That's why accidental magic occurs with young children. Their emotions spike their levels of aura, allowing them to more easily command mana without the need of a wand. Seeing that Naruto was still confused, Fukasaku spoke up. Sage Mode and magic are 2 sides of the same yen. It's like how some pastries have flavored frosting on the outside and others have flavored cream on the inside. Dumbledore was perplexed at his explanation, but Naruto finally got it. So that's how it works. So basically, Sage Mode and magic are the physical and spiritual sides of mana. Dumbledore, shocked, responded, yes, but how you understood it from what Fukasaku said astounds me. Fukasaku turned to Dumbledore. Trust me, I was surprised too when my fellow toads explained Sage Mode using ice cream and toppings. Dumbledore, satisfied with his knowledge of chakra and the energies involved, had an idea. Fukasaku, could you try to cast the levitation charm I did? Fukasaku, after seeing it in action again, gave it a try. At first he didn't succeed using his gathered sage chakra. During his second attempt, he tried using his gathered mana and more aura than chakra to command external mana. This attempt managed to make the book shudder and rise an inch, then quickly fall back down. Dumbledore was glad his theory paid off. Taking another look at the Toad Sage, he asked, would you like to train Naruto here at Hogwarts? Here, Naruto can be given money and learn how to use mana for spells. In return, can you teach the students during the next school year to access their chakra and use wandless magic? Fukasaku thought it over. What Professor Dumbledore asks will be hard. The reason Ninja Academy students start at 6 years old is because it's easier to unlock chakra at a young age. However, if Naruto boy trained here at Hogwarts, he'd have plenty of time before pain invaded. Also, since Naruto is stuck here anyways, I might as well be here to teach him. Who knows, since there's so much mana in the air here, he may even do the impossible and learn to gather mana while moving. I agree, on 2 conditions. The first is that I have spare time to train Naruto every day for at least 2 hours. Dumbledore thought this over. Agreed. However, his training sessions with you cannot interrupt either your class on chakra or any classes Naruto takes. Glad. Fukasaku accepted and continued. Second, I'll need a place to build a distant body water pool somewhere where few people can reach. That way, I can come between Mount Myoboku and Hogwarts without Naruto using the summoning technique or me having to use chakra to resist returning. While Dumbledore was thinking of possible places to put the pool, Naruto realized what the pool would do. Wait, Pa. If you can use the pool to get here, why can't I use it to get back? Because, Naruto boy, the pool only works for Toad summons. While you hold our contract, you aren't a Toad. By then, Dumbledore had a bright idea. How about I enchant the Chamber of Secrets to also open to the touch of Sage Mode? That way, you can use it for both the pool and training. Its entrance is in the abandoned second-floor women's bathrooms. Thinking this over, Fukasaku came to a decision. That will work splendidly. Is there anything about the chamber I should know? Part of the chamber has debris from a collapsed ceiling, but the rocks can easily be cleared away. Also, the body of Voldemort's dead basilisk, a 50-foot-long snake, resides in a deeper chamber. At that, Naruto moaned. So Voldemort does have a snake like Manda. How much more alike are they? Then, Naruto felt the headache that accompanied a shadow clone dispelling. Professor Dumbledore, the clone I left with Professor Snape and Barty Crouch just dispelled. Somebody came with what Snape called a Dementor. I didn't get the name of the person that brought it. When the Dementor came in, I felt some killing intent, and countered with some of my own. The Dementor shied away from me, took one look at Crouch, and kissed him. That's when my clone dispelled. Why did that Dementor kiss Crouch? Was it a female? Dumbledore shook his head. We're not sure if Dementors even have genders. The Dementor's kiss is a deadly thing. Its victims are robbed of their souls. What remains is just a shell of a man with no memories. But tell me, was this person's name Cornelius Fudge? No, Dumbledore, it wasn't that. But Professor Snape did recognize her as somebody from the Ministry. Dumbledore thought about this. What has happened could be worrying, but could also be nothing. Thank you, Naruto and Fukasaku, for everything you've said and done this night. Fukasaku, I'll lead you to the Chamber of Secrets so you can set up the pool. Naruto, I cannot give you a room inside the castle. However, if you exit the castle and follow the road, you'll soon arrive in Hogsmeade, where you'll find an inn known as the Boar's Head. Tell the owner that Dumbledore sent you to stay for the night, and he should give you no trouble. With this, both Naruto and Fukasaku bowed to Dumbledore in thanks, and the three left. 2 to open the chamber, and 1 to get some rest. And that's Chapter 3 Part 1. Since I had originally uploaded this as 2 chapters, I'll be leaving this between the 2, where it originally was. Anticipated review critiques. I don't think the dragon skeleton was ever identified. It reminds me of Hungarian horntails the most, so I called it that. Yes. There's a reason that Pa can't speak English. It's because he didn't cross dimensions properly or permanently. No, magic and chakra aren't the same thing. While one can affect the other, like my explanation of the killing curse, they're different types of energies. That's also why Naruto could throw a normal Rasengan which was hit by a spell. The spell used nature chakra, which allowed it to be thrown. Yes, reverse summoning being only space rather than space-time is a cop-out. It was either Naruto teaches the chakra class or Fusaku does, and I choose the one who's not an idiot when it comes to teaching and explanations and younger than some of the students he'd take on. I'm not sure how the pool works, it isn't really explained. I'm saying it works like a space-time jutsu that only toads can use and leaving it at that. Yes, somebody other than Fudge came to pick up Barty Crouch Jr. and don't try to guess who it is. I don't want a review spoiling who this character is and or a slight change or 2 of canon I made concerning this character. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the 1 paragraph that got this story removed. Chapter 3 Part 2. A Strange History is retold. I have a somewhat important announcement. After reading a review, I realized that Fusaku's explanation might be confusing to more people than just Dumbledore. So I'll detail what I meant about the 3 energies here. There are 3 energies that Sage Mode uses. First, the user must have a large quantity of mixed Kai and aura, which is physical and spiritual energy. This mixture is called chakra. Then, they must reach out for mana, or nature energy, and mix it with their chakra. This results in a mixture of Kai, aura, and mana. The sage then uses his Kai and aura, which are amplified by the stored mana. For wizards, only aura and mana are used. For wandless magic, the wizard needs a large amount of aura and either a strong or an over-emotional mind. For wand magic, the wizard needs a much smaller amount of aura and may not need emotion. Then, the wizard must push his aura out into the mana around him. Remember the blowing hair, the flickering lights, and the rattling dishes when Aunt Marge visited? This is that step with too much emotion. Also, notice this is like what happened during the Chunin exams when Orochimaru and Sarutobi stared off. That was caused by the aura released in the chakra messing with the ambient mana without giving the mana direction. Then, once enough mana has been gathered by the wizard, either at the target or at a focal point, the aura then commands the mana to create the spell. If a wandless spell was consciously cast, this puts a larger strain on the wizard's aura than subconscious or wand spells, and can exhaust the wizard mentally. When a wand is used, its inherent mana properties, not magic or aura, mana, make it much easier for wizards to gather more mana with less aura. If that didn't make sense, let me know. Wandering the castle at sundown was a scary experience. There was enough light to see, but also not enough to not leave deep shadows. And with everything in the castle being alive, Naruto was scared witless. The portraits were kind enough to give him directions to the front doors, but everything else seemed haunted. A black mangy cat tried to cross his path, the stairs were moving on their own, and he almost fell through a seemingly solid step. Also, he had to watch out when walking around corners. Quite a few of the sky blue girls tried to glomp him while he wasn't looking, but most would blush and faint before they got too close. The rest were too noisy for stealth, and Naruto avoided their lunges effortlessly. But it wasn't till he was at the large double doors leading outside that Naruto encountered trouble. As he descended the last grand staircase, one of the suits of armor turned its head and looked at him. Thinking nothing of it, Naruto walked past it, only to jump to dodge a descending axe. "Ooh, this Ikki-Viki boy is good," an almost menacing voice reverberated through the hall, "but he isn't a tiny whiny first year. What else can the blondie dodge?" With that said, a bunch of random items from around the room started floating and rushed Naruto. While Naruto normally could avoid all those with ease, his fears were getting a hold of him, and he got clipped a few times. "This slowpoke isn't fast enough to make this game fun," the voice lamented. "I wonder how he'll like this game." All the floating items dropped, and the fires on either side of the doors started to dance. They danced off the podiums and around Naruto. Completely freaked out, Naruto cried. "ITTT thought Dumbledore said the GGGG ghosts were friendly." Suddenly, the fires died, and the voice started cackling. "A ghost? Me? Oh, don't be too kind. If you want to know what I am, turn around." With that said, the voice went silent as the grave. Naruto gulped and slowly turned around to see nothing. "I'm worse than a goody two-shoes ghost, little boy." Terrified, Naruto wanted nothing more than to get away from Hogwarts and back to Konoha, and ran for the door. However, once he reached the door, a face phased through it. It was a creepy face with black, messy hair and a crazed, angled grin. Staying close to the retreating Naruto, the face gave a quick chuckle and said, "I'm a poltergeist, and I'm going to haunt you forever." With that statement, the poltergeist cackled maniacally. Overloaded with fear, Naruto did the sensible thing. He quickly fainted. "Ooh, this boy is fun, I should visit him more often." With that said, Peeves simply set out to search out other students to startle. Naruto awoke in what appeared to be a dirty room. Looking around, Naruto found himself lying on a cot. After a moment, he remembered why he was asleep in the first place and screamed, "Quiet down, lad. That sorry excuse for a phantom can't travel far past them castle walls." Turning, Naruto saw a gruff man as old as Dumbledore, with more ragged hair. "You've been out for about 10 minutes. My sorry excuse for a brother, the headmaster, found you passed out by the front doors," with Peeves laughing his head off. "The headmaster arrived with your sorry limp body down here to the Hog's Head Inn himself, he did. Well, thanks for letting me stay here. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. What's yours?" "Call me Aberforth. That's what all the slums who visit here do." "Well, thanks for the room, Aberforth. Wait, did you say Dumbledore was your brother?" At that, Aberforth snorted. "Yeah, Albus, that family traitor, is unfortunately my brother." Surprised, Naruto wanted to know more. "Excuse me, but how is he a traitor? He seems like a nice old man to me." With a grunt, Aberforth headed for the door. "If ye really want to. No, follow me." Not wasting time, Naruto kept up with him. Soon, he was led to a painting of a young girl. The girl seemed sweet, but Naruto recognized the look in her eyes. They were vacant, the eyes of somebody who lost everything, including herself. Aberforth looked longingly at the picture. "This is my sister, Ariana. When she was young, she was in an accident. This left her scared for life. She lost control of her magic and would have mood swings. When she was upset, I was the only one who could calm her. After Albus graduated, both of our parents had died, and he became the head of the house. However, he hated it. He wanted adventures. And they were offered to him by Gellert Grindelwald, the Dark Wizard. Albus almost joined him, until I confronted him. He had planned to leave us behind. I confronted him about it, and Grindelwald cast the torture curse on me. A three-way wizard duel was started. Myself, Grindelwald, and Albus were in a three-way duel. During the duel, Ariana walked in. She saw me and Albus fighting, and stepped in between all three of us. She begged us to stop, but nobody listened. Then, her magic was loosed, and a large flash of light occurred. When it died down, Ariana was dead. Grindelwald ran, and only I grieved for her. At the end of this tale, Aberforth was crying a little. Since then, Albus became a teacher, then headmaster of Hogwarts. Soon after that, I got a job here in this shanty inn. He always appeared to be the perfect Albus Dumbledore. But even now, he turns his back on his last living member of his family. Surprised at what he just heard, Naruto took a moment to understand what he just heard. He took a few more moments to truly understand how Albus could have had this sorry history and become such a good professor. Coming to a realization, he quietly said, "You're wrong." Not expecting this answer, Aberforth was surprised. "What did you just say?" More determined, Naruto repeated himself. "You're wrong. Dumbledore does care for his family. If he really wanted adventure, why did he decide to become a teacher?" That made Aberforth pause. "He's sorry he messed up with you too. That's why he became a teacher. He must have wanted to make up for it by helping as many children as he could." Hearing this, Aberforth was stunned. But Naruto continued, "He cares about you as well. Was it Albus who gave you a job close to school where he could watch over you?" These back-to-back revelations both shocked Aberforth and made sense. Could what this blonde boy was saying be true? However, he quickly composed himself. "Believe what you want. I'm off to bed." With that, he started to leave, but stopped in front of Ariana's portrait. Too low for Naruto to hear, he leaned in towards her and whispered, "Does he really care about us that much? Is he sorry for what happened?" And continued on his way. Naruto moved towards his room as well. However, when he got to the door of the pup, he heard a soft voice. "Thank you." Those two little words were enough to make Naruto turn around. Ariana was no longer looking around with her unfocused gaze, but staring straight at Naruto. Surprised at this change, Naruto returned to stand in front of her. "You're welcome," he whispered back. Then, remembering Sir Cadogan, he asked, "Do you remember your life too? All of it?" After thinking it over, Ariana gave a slow nod. Seeing this, Naruto asked, "Do you remember what really happened that day, during the three-way duel?" Surprised at his question, Ariana got lost in memory. Quietly, she responded, "Yes, I came in and saw fighting. All three were fighting each other with magic. I asked them to stop, but they just kept fighting. I wanted my brothers to stop fighting and for the strange boy to go away. My magic then came out, stronger than before. It sent a light at the stranger, but the strain killed me. I had killed myself to stop my brothers from fighting, but Aberforth was mean to Albus ever since this picture was made. Thanks to you, they may be nice to each other again." Hearing this side of the story sent Naruto into tears. Still talking softly, he said, "I'm sorry that happened. I hope Aberforth forgives Albus too. Thank you for telling me. Do you want me to tell Aberforth or Albus?" Ariana quickly shook her head. "No, I want to tell them myself, when they are nice brothers who will believe me." "I understand. Until Aberforth forgives Albus, he'll never accept that that's what happened. I promise to keep this secret, believe it. Good night, Ariana." With that, Ariana once again looking around emptily. Naruto returned to his room, where his dreams were plagued with Orochimaru, Voldemort, poltergeists, and lonely girls with angry brothers. And that's Chapter 3 Part 2. Did anybody else play the original Harry Potter games for the PC? If so, did you think that Peeves looks like a spectral version of The Legend of Zelda's Happy Mask Salesman? That comparison both creeps me out and makes me want to make another crossover featuring that. Please tell me I'm not the only one who was moved to tears by my own take of Ariana's side of the story. I wrote it down just fine, but proofreading it released Niagara Falls. I can't think of any critiques against this chapter. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Peace out. Anonymous GX. A new plan. Some observant people may have seen my chapter titles, and notice this one's different. That's because this is a new part of the story, or arc if it suits you. I'll try to follow this pattern, but may fail and have to break it later on. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. The next morning, Naruto woke up late and saw a note on his desk. It was sloppy, making it hard for him to read with his weird translation powers, but Naruto could make it out. I got you some school uniforms at Gladrag's Wizardwear. They're in the closet. Put them on and come down for breakfast. Albus and a cloaked toad that looks older than him are waiting for you. Aberforth. After finishing the note, Naruto opened his closet. What he saw astounded him. There were the black restrictive pants and uniform that were worn by the Hogwarts students. There were also a few long cloaks and blank white-collared shirts. Naruto briefly wondered why he didn't get one of the 4 Hogwarts colors. Ignoring the cloaks, Naruto got dressed, sealed the rest of the clothes away, and headed down for breakfast. When he reached the pub, Aberforth was behind the bar, and Albus and Pa were sitting at a table with morning pastries, arguing. I told you, Naruto needs to train for Pain's attack. He can't stop training in Sage Mode, Pa told Dumbledore. And indeed, you will teach him Fukasaku, but later, Albus calmly replied, he is 5 years behind in Hogwarts academics. Even with shadow clones to assist him, I doubt he can catch up within 3 months while sparing chakra for your training. I'd like him to focus his time more on learning what he missed for his age group than what he has almost mastered decades before other students of yours. During this time, we can further explore how to use magic in Sage Mode, and how to unlock chakra with or without a wand. I know a few wizards that are psychically fit who can help us test some methods and theories. Finally, in order for you to have a class, we need to write a class book, or even something as small as a pamphlet, on both chakra principles, some basic low chakra jutsu, and our theories results for the students to purchase. You make some good arguments, agreed Pa. Fine. He can spend 2 months studying what he can, but he must continue his training after that point. I don't care if he didn't even finish the first year of normal studies. To this, I agree, Albus said. There's something else I'd like to talk to you about. Have you considered my request from last night? Good morning, boy, greeted Aberforth, diverting Naruto's attention from the other conversation. Naruto noticed he wasn't as gruff as last night, and wondered if it had to do with Albus being in the room. I'm still finding it hard to believe that the non-magical toad can talk, let alone be your teacher. Wait, how can you understand him? I can tell he's speaking Japanese by how his lips move, Naruto asked. See that necklace the toad's wearing? At that, Naruto looked and saw one. It was made of metal, with a glowing pearl on it. Albus enchanted it. As long as the toad's wearing it, he can communicate in English. But for some reason, some things he says after a name don't translate. That's right, Naruto boy. Honorifics don't always have a good direct translation, or make sense in that order with English grammar. Pa spoke up. Now, why don't you hop on over here and have some breakfast? Dumbledore-san and I have agreed to a change in plan. What's the change? Are you still working out how to get me back to Konoha? Naruto asked while eating, fearful that they failed and he was stuck in this world. Of course, Naruto. But unless our dimensions change how fast they're moving, we have plenty of time before Pain attacks, and, once we figure out how, we can send you back the same instant he attacks. However, when you do go to face him, Fukasaku and I think you should go with a weapon Pain has absolutely no knowledge about. Dumbledore told him. At the thought of a new weapon, Naruto burst with joy. Awesome. So what is it? Is it better than Sage Mode? No offense, Pa. It's a wand. I want you to join my students here in learning magic. Dumbledore told the hyper child. Pain has absolutely no knowledge of worlds beyond yours, which has only chakra, and will be caught off guard by magic. Also, as Fukasaku demonstrated last night, you will be able to use spells while in Sage Mode, giving you 2 advantages over Pain at once. Sweet. So when do I get started? What do I have to do? First, you'll have to study. Wizards start their studies at the age of 11, and you're 5 years behind. At that news, Naruto's spirits dropped. I'm going to send you and Fukasaku to the Leaky Cauldron. There, you'll find a bartender named Tom. Give him this letter, and he'll give you a room for the summer. With that, Naruto was handed a thin letter with a seal on the back. Next, Tom will take you to the entrance of Diagon Alley. Memorize how to enter, then enter Gringotts. Hand them this letter, and you will get the money you'll need without the need for a rickety cart ride. Naruto was handed a thicker, fancier envelope with a bigger seal. You'll then have to purchase your books and a few special spell targets. They should have some that can reform or reverse most spells after a few seconds. Here's the basic book list for years 1 through 5. Naruto took a large scroll from Albus. Show your room key, and they will deliver the books to your room. I'm also giving you a gift. You can buy one item that strikes your fancy from any shop, besides a second wand. Finally, head over to Ollivander's and have him match you with a wand. This could take a long while, so make sure your books and gift are being sent to your room first. Did you get all that? There was Tom, his letter, Diagon Alley's entrance, Gringotts. Gringotts' letter, shopping, room delivery, wand. Did I miss anything? Not at all. Once all that's done, I want you to stay in that room and study as much as you can. Don't worry about food. Tom will have some sent up to you 3 times every day. While you can't brew the potions or do some of the things you'll read about, you can use shadow clones to read different books and practice any spells they read. You have only 2 months to study, so use as many as you can. Maybe even having 2 or 3 shadow clones practice trickier spells. I trust that you'll catch up within 2 months. Can you do that? I'll do my best, but why's Pa coming with me? I'm coming, Naruto boy, to make sure you don't forget anything. Also, in order to test some of these theories Dumbledore and I made, I'll need books on basic magic and magical theory so I can practice them with Sage Mode. Don't worry, they're marked on your book list. Dumbledore-san also gave me some extra flow powder to get back here quickly. Flow powder? What's that? The way Dumbledore explained it, you use it to travel between fireplaces. Don't worry, I'll do it, and you'll only have to watch. With that, Pa hopped onto Naruto's shoulder. Okay. First, go to the fireplace. While Naruto headed over to the fireplace, he noticed Aberforth moved out from behind the bar and over towards Dumbledore. When Naruto stood in front of the fireplace, he noticed Ariana briefly looked at her communicating brothers before gazing around the room. Pa then continued, okay, now I just have to throw some of this powder into the fire. Once the green powder hit the flames, they sprung up and turned green. The leaky cauldron. There, now just walk in, and we'll be there in no time. Disbelieving, Naruto stuck a foot into the fire. While it didn't burn, it pulled the rest of him in. While his name may translate to Maelstrom, he was in for the spin of his life, traveling by green fire past many fireplaces, till he was unceremoniously shot out and onto the wooden floor. Naruto boy. I told you to walk in, not fall in. Pa scolded the chagrined boy. But no time for that, let's find the barkeeper. With that said, they were approached by a stooping figure. Welcome to the Leaky Cauldron. My name is Tom. How can I help you? Surprised at his appearance, Naruto replied. Hello Tom. I was told by Dumbledore to give you this letter. A letter you say? Let me see. Ah, he wants you to have the room reserved for orphan students. Lucky for you, it's vacant. Here's your key. With that, he produced a large, rusted, bronze key almost out of thin air and gave it to Naruto. It also says you need directions into Diagon Alley. Follow me. Tom soon led the duo to a small open area behind the inn. He then tapped a pattern into the opposite wall, which Naruto and Pa memorized. When completed, the bricks started to rotate so that the small courtyard became a thin path into what must have been Diagon Alley. And what a sight Diagon Alley was! It had the sense of both size and being crammed. The streets were filled with robed wizards, small stands, and some guys selling goods by hand. The stores extended upward over 4 floors, and were barely 30 feet wide. But inside the windows, Naruto could tell that there was much more space on the inside than how they appeared on the outside. And at the end of Diagon Alley was a large, grand building that was undoubtedly Gringotts. But Naruto couldn't bring himself to go there just yet. Every shop was dying to be explored. However, Pa saw the look in his eye. Oh no you don't Naruto boy. You have to do what Dumbledore ordered, then start your wizard studies as soon as possible. Compromising, Naruto made a bunch of shadow clones to check out the various stores and look for a potential gift that Dumbledore promised. Even with so many people around, the sheer density of the crowd ensured that nobody noticed the blonde multiply and spread out. The real Naruto, with paw on his shoulder, made his way into Gringotts. There, he got a shock. The bankers weren't human. They were very short, but not as short as the house elf Dumbledore summoned in his office to deliver a message. These creatures also had larger heads, and fuller bodies for that matter, but smaller, more pointed ears and a larger nose. Seeing his expression, Pa quickly covered Naruto's mouth. "Don't yell, Naruto boy. This is a bank, and we should be respectful to those who run it, no matter what their appearance." Calming down a little, Naruto strode forward down the hall and quickly placed Dumbledore's second letter onto the main desk. The creature on the other side opened it and read it with a scowl. Well, well, well. These here are some very unusual requests. Student funds are to be handled in such a way. With that, the being leaned over the desk and stared at Naruto. Noticing how nervous he was, the being said, "You're a little old to start Hogwarts, aren't you? And you have so much to catch up on too. No wonder you need so much." With that, the banker handed the letter to one of his helpers, who rushed off. While the helper was away, he pulled out a form from within the desk, wrote on it in some places, and handed it back to Naruto. "Here. This will let you purchase one item of any price, but only here at Diagon Alley. It won't work anywhere else, and is void if any harm comes to it. Do you understand, boy?" By the time Naruto calmed down, took the form, and returned a nod, the helper was back with a small pouch. After checking it, the banker handed it to Naruto. "Here you are, enough money to cover your expenses. Remember, it's 29 bronze nuts to a silver sickle, and 17 silver sickles to a gold galleon. That makes 493 bronze nuts to a single gold galleon." Seeing that Naruto was confused by this, Pa spoke up. "Thank you, sir, for your time. We'll be leaving now." Turning away from the shocked banker, Pa spoke to Naruto. "Now, how about we get out of here and get our books?" Agreeing completely, Naruto almost ran for the door. Once outside, Naruto easily found Flourish and Blots. Partly because a shadow clone had found it earlier and went to Gringotts to guide him there. Once inside, both Narutos got a look at the list and separated to find all the books they needed. Once they did, they carried them all up to the counter and paid for them. After seeing Naruto's key, the shopkeeper agreed to have the books packaged and sent to the room for free. With that done, Naruto had all his clones dispel. Going through their memories, he saw that the repairing targets were in Wiseacre's wizarding equipment and purchased a few. He then tried to find a memory for Dumbledore's promised gift, and only one thing stood out in his mind. He quickly crossed the alley and found quality Quidditch supplies. Hanging in the window was a sleek broom, with the promise of flight. While Naruto had heard about many jutsus, he never heard of one granting flight. Naruto quickly entered and used the form the banker gave him to purchase the broom in the window, which happened to be called a firebolt. He had it delivered to his room as well. Finally, going through his clone's memories, Naruto found the last shop he needed. It was a dark store, filled to the brim, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, with what appeared to be single shoeboxes. Nervous, Naruto entered Ollivander's, and that's a chapter. "I'm sorry this seems so short, but I have two good reasons for doing this. The first is that I didn't want to have 2 or 3 shorter scenes be split between 2 chapters. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed." Review critiques. I didn't want Naruto to travel to Diagon Alley alone. Also, I always thought of the Hogwarts library mostly covered history and topics used in the classroom, and what Fukasaku needs is too basic or too theoretical to be included. If you're wondering why I'm switching between Fukasaku and Pa, there's a simple reason for it. When it's Naruto's Pav, he knows him as Pa. However, most wizards will know him not as Pa, but as Fukasaku. That's why, when I shared the Pav with Dumbledore, Fukasaku appears, but switched back to Pa when it was just him and Naruto. I don't know if there is such a thing as a self-repairing spell target. I didn't want Naruto to spare clones and chakra testing spells on each other. I thought that such a target can be hid any spell, but spells that would normally affect other beings would make the spell's name appear of the surface. For instance, if a spell were to make a person bald, the target, which has no hair, would read, "Hair loss jinx." and the levitation charm would both lift it and have it state the spell. Yes, my earlier chapter skimmed the Dumbledore meeting, and didn't mention a house elf. This is one of the things I meant by double-checking that my current chapters have what my future chapters need. Just imagine it happened in the middle of Naruto's explanation. Yes, there is a jutsu that can allow a person to grant another, or himself, flight. But has it appeared in the anime before Pain's attack, and what's its max speed? I don't remember it being used before Naruto fell into the Potterverse. Peace out and help out. Anonymous GX a new wand okay. Can somebody tell me why my underlines are disappearing every other time I save chapters? Thanks for the votes on the poll. In the end, when I started preparing this chapter, it was a tie between 3 woods. However, only one of those woods was a preference of mine, so I'm using it. The other 2 woods I wanted that weren't in the top 3 were English oak and vine. For English oak, a wand for good times and bad, this is a friend as loyal as the wizard who deserves it. Wands of English oak demand partners of strength, courage and fidelity. Less well known is the propensity for owners of English oak wands to have powerful intuition, and, often, an affinity with the magic of the natural world. I thought this wand matched Naruto really well. For vine wands are among the less common types, and their owners are nearly always those witches or wizards who seek a greater purpose, who have a vision beyond the ordinary and who frequently astound those who think they know them best. Vine wands seem strongly attracted by personalities with hidden depths. Reliable sources claim that these wands can emit magical effects upon the mere entrance into their room of a suitable owner, and this has been noted to have occurred twice within Ollivander's wand shop. This wand matches Naruto's unpredictability perfectly, as well as Naruto's high ideals, and I love the idea of an almost forgotten wand shuddering and producing sparks when Ollivander finally heads further back into his shop. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. When Naruto entered the wand shop, he found nobody. The main room was very small. Most of the shop seemed to be overflowing with the little boxes of wands that made up the back hallways. The small desk near the entrance to the back had nobody behind it. When the door closed, a chime sounded. Startled, and still looking for the owner of the shop, Naruto spun around and looked at and behind the door. However, nobody was there. Only a small bell that was connected to the door frame. Relieved, Naruto turned around to be face to face with a man. Startled, Naruto jumped back, remembering not to wall walk since he was in a place with people unused to chakra, and hit the door. He then, out of instinct, reached to his leg pouch, only to realize this must be the shopkeeper. "I've been wondering if you were going to arrive, Mr. Uzumaki," the old man said. "I am Ollivander, and I can see that, for a self-taught young boy, you'll need a strong wand." With that, Ollivander started heading to the back of the shop. Thanks Mr. Ollivander. But, how did you know my name? Dumbledore sends me a letter with the names and descriptions of all potential student customers, he replied, running his fingers along some boxes. You're the boy Harry met in the graveyard and used accidental magic to distract the Death Eaters long enough to escape. Sure, whatever Dumbledore said. At first, Naruto was confused. Why wouldn't Dumbledore tell him I'm from a ninja world? Wait, that must be it. He must not want people to know about it. I better remember his version of what happened in the graveyard. Here we are. Naruto saw that Ollivander had selected a wand. Try this one. Blackthorn and unicorn hair, 12 inches, rather bendy. The wand of a balanced warrior. With that, he handed Naruto a knotted wand. Before Naruto had a chance to flick it, it was snatched out of his hands. Nope, not that one. No matter, we'll just keep going. Half an hour later, Naruto was bored out of his mind. He tried what must have been thousands of wands, ranging in length, flexibility, core, wood, and specialties, but none of them worked. However, during this search, Ollivander seemed to freeze at a shelf. Is it possible? He muttered to himself. Naruto noticed he was looking at a shelf about his height, about 5 to 7 feet into the back, on the left side. He reached up, and carefully pulled a box out from the bottom. When he returned to the front, Naruto noticed the box seemed old and very dusty. Almost sacredly, Ollivander placed the box on the desk, opened it, and gingerly offered the wand to Naruto. Before grabbing it, Naruto noticed the fine craftsmanship. The wand was about 10.5 inches, painted onyx black, and had a white cloth wrapped around the grip. Below the grip was a sphere, just a little wider than the handle. The other end, unlike the other wands, was a little more like an oval than a circle, and the long side of the oval was almost double the width of the handle. It almost gave Naruto the impression of a standard kunai, but thinner and without an edge. When he grabbed the handle, Naruto immediately felt something, a connection to this wand. Ollivander was shocked at the change. He felt the ambient magic inside the shop move into the wand and from there into Naruto. The boy's eyes became golden with rectangular pupils, and he gained what seemed like an orange mask around his eyes. Naruto was surprised at this as well. He wasn't being perfectly still, but had entered a perfect sage mode. Does that mean that he can use his wand to gather mana anytime he wanted? Merlin's beard. This is the strangest reaction I've ever seen come from a wand who's chosen its wizard. But the wand itself is a curiosity. Pardon me, but what's curious about it? Lost in memory, Ollivander took the wand back and gazed on it. I remember every wand I ever sold, Naruto. I also remember when I made each wand, and how I got the materials. Your wand is one of the few I've ever made that used a thestral's tail hair. Thestrals, my dear boy, are skeletal winged horses. However, they can only be seen by those who have seen death, and are considered bad luck to the superstitious. At that point, Naruto remembered his childhood, how he was scorned and left alone because of superstitious people. It is theorized that only wizards who have seen death can be accepted as the master of a wand with a thestral tail hair core. However, the one wand I've heard about that also has this core was incredibly powerful. But the core isn't the only odd thing about your wand. Its wood is made from yew, 10.5 inches, and is rather rigid. This kind of wood will only accept unusual wizards who are destined for great things. Yew wielders are said to have power over life and death, and the core makes it tied more so with death. Yew wands have a fearsome reputation when it comes to curses and duels. There are two types of wizards that normally are chosen by yew wands. Another wand made from the very same log as yours was sold to the one who gave Harry Potter his scar, he who must not be named. He was destined for greatness, like yew says, but in the dark arts, another sign of the yew. From what I've seen in you briefly, you must be a fierce protector of others. Treat this wand well, and you will protect those you care for from all harm. Shocked at not just the qualities of his wand, which matched up to Naruto's past, as well as Kyuubi and his influence, very well, but of the fact that his wand and Voldemort's were cousins, Naruto could do nothing but stare at the wand for a long time. After a good while, Naruto took the wand back from Ollivander and put it in his leg pouch. Thank you, sir. I promise to use this wand to protect my precious people. Now, as for the price, this wand is actually less expensive than many of my other wands. Few have ever paired with a thestral tail hair core here before, and this wand is very old. After purchasing the wand, along with a book and supplies for how to take care of the wand, Naruto left. After the bell chimed, Ollivander gained a worried face. The only other time I sold a thestral tail hair wand to a student was ages ago. That student stored it in a leg pouch as well. When Naruto got back to his apartment, lunch was already waiting for him. After eating quickly, Naruto looked over at the large stack of books, then turned to look at the book list again. Well, I might as well start with first-year books. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Surprisingly, it was easier to create shadow clones outside the graveyard in Hogwarts. Could it be because mana is more dense there than in other places? With that jutsu done, the room became almost too crowded with Narutos who quickly picked up various books, or shared books with others, and started reading. After about half an hour, one of the clones decided to practice one of the spells it read. Pointing his wand at a practice target, the clone did the proper wand movement while uttering the incantation. Wingardium Leviosa. The target spelled out levitation charm, but didn't move an inch. Confused, the clone tried again. Wingardium Leviosa. Again, he had the same result. Now focusing with everything he had, the clone yelled out the incantation. Wingardium Leviosa. Finally, the target rose into the air as the spellbook said. Can you keep it down, please? Some of us are trying to read, a few other Narutos said, then punched the offending clone. However, Doing so gave all the Naruto's memories of what happened, quickly. The clones scrambled for the remaining spell targets to check their wands using spells they only half learned. The result for all of them were the same. Naruto had to focus hard and overpower his wand in order to produce the spells he wanted. With that knowledge, Naruto started the most boring and isolated study training of his life. And that's the wand gaining ceremony. I would have continued the chapter, but this seems like a good way to do a time skip. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. How did it go, and how do you like Naruto's wand? Weren't expecting thestral hair for the core, were you? I found out that it serves as the core to the Elder Wand while scanning the Wikia. Review critiques. If your desired wood didn't make it, that's a personal matter, not a life or death problem I must fix. Speaking of life or death, doesn't Naruto's current wand have that power? The reason for Naruto's apparently weak wand will be explained next chapter. Don't give my any problems until you know the full story. Peace out. Anonymous GX. A new vacation admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. The reason why this chapter doesn't have a few changes from the original script is that the letters are government formalities. They, as well as some spoken parts in the trial, are going to be direct quotes since they're legality phrases, not character quotes. Can you leave me a review saying whether or not having these parts is okay? Over the following weeks, Naruto studied hard. When meals arrived, Naruto dispelled the shadow clones to gain their knowledge and avoid the suspicion of the inn workers. He couldn't do many of the things he read about, such as divination, care of magical creatures, and potions, but he had his shadow clones quiz each other about those subjects and practiced every spell he could. Since he had mastered Sage Mode, he had a couple clones practiced using his wand to enter and exit Sage Mode, and to use Sage Chakra to create spells wandlessly. While he managed to do a few spells, he was worried about the slower preparation time and speed when compared to a wand-created spell, as well as concentration needed to maintain the continuous spells such as Wingardium Leviosa. Also, when he ran out of Sage Mode Chakra, the effort needed to make and maintain spells became much greater. To counter this, Naruto tried to experiment with magic Rasengans, like the one he and Voldemort accidentally created in the graveyard. He tried using both wand magic and wandless magic. However, the results were astounding, and Naruto quickly learned not to practice it. In a small apartment, a magic-style Rasengan was more likely to become unstable than the wind-style Rasen Shuriken, and did so faster. Naruto figured that since chakra was a mix of what Dumbledore called Kai and Aura, the extra aura used in magic was enough to destabilize the chakra. After a stinging Hex Rasengan exploded and gave the real Naruto harsh stings and swelling, as well as dispelling all the clones and destroying a good part of the room, Naruto fixed everything with the mending charm, went down to Tom for medical attention, and decided to postpone that area of training. When Naruto wasn't studying, eating, or sleeping, he would sometimes leave his still studying clones, pull out the firebolt he purchased, and ride it. Luckily, Quality Quidditch Supplies had a large back room for the purpose of practicing flying on a broom or testing out brooms you'd like to buy. It had strong repelling charms on the walls and ceiling, Arresto Momentum on the floor, 3 Quidditch hoops and a quaffle, padded bludgers and beater bats, and a used snitch. For about an hour each day, he would be in that room, practicing all the positions of a Quidditch team. One of the books Dumbledore had him get was Quidditch Through the Ages, and Naruto practiced all the player tactics he could, with the help of anybody else who wanted to fly as well. Of all the tactics mentioned in the book, Naruto got pretty good at the bludger backbeat, created the bludger reverse hand, mastered the sloth grip roll, succeeded in basic forward, backward flying while in the starfish and stick, while secretly using chakra to stick to his broom for both of the previous tricks, and got both the Transylvanian tackle and Ronsky feint mastered to the point where he could pull out within a couple inches off either the other player or the ground. Finally, the day came when the 2 months were up. When Naruto opened the door to get breakfast, he instead saw familiar faces. Professor Dumbledore. Ha! Has it been 2 months already? Yes, it has, Naruto boy. So tell us, how has your wizard training gotten along? It's been good so far. I'm almost finished with the 4th year. Books. After that, Naruto gave what Sarutobi would call an excellent mission report. After listening to his description of Naruto's training, Dumbledore spoke up. That is good news. Some of what you have told us will be edited into the book Fukasaku and I have been working on before we publish it. Since you didn't finish in time for 6th year, I'll place you in the 5th year. Do not fret. Harry and his friends are in their 5th years as well, and may become your new roommates. With that decided, here's your new shopping list. You'll need a few more books than the ones I gave you, along with the supplies for other classes. After scanning the east, Naruto put it into his pocket, and Dumbledore continued, now, about the problem with your wand. That is very curious, tell me, have you ever practiced magic while you had no shadow clones studying or doing magic? Thinking back, Naruto replied, no, what does that have to do with it? Dumbledore then smiled. Why don't you try a 1st year spell right now, with no active shadow clones? Surprised, Naruto then turned to a stray spell target on his bed. Flipendo. What should have only been strong enough to knock back only the target became a disaster. That entire bed looked like an invisible train had ran through the room and into the wall. When Naruto thought it couldn't get any worse, the wall behind the bed fell back into the other room. Whoa! Why'd that happen? Pa had figured it out by then, and decided to explain it to Naruto while Dumbledore cleaned up the mess he had ordered. Naruto boy, when you use shadow clones, your chakra splits among them, right? Naruto then thought a little, and realized he was right. So what does my chakra have to do with my wand? Pa then beamed. Naruto boy, when you split your chakra, you must have also split your wand's power. When you are split in 10, your spells are 10 times weaker. It's like when you share a pie with friends, you also give them part of the whipped cream on top in the middle. Surprised at this revelation, Naruto realized how many shadow clones he was working with and beamed. So, does that mean I'm an ultimate super powerful wizard? With that thought, Naruto started bouncing off the walls, almost literally. Yahoo! I'm gonna be the best wizard Hokage the universe has ever seen. Believe it, all the leaders of the other villages will have to bow before my power. I almost can't believe I'm gonna be that awesome. Seeing that Naruto was getting too pumped up and hyper, Dumbledore stepped in. That is indeed possible, Naruto. However, while you're in school, you have to tone down the power of your spells. We had one boy who would supercharge his spells so much, his wand couldn't handle them and the spells exploded in his face. You don't want that to happen to you. Now, why don't you try again, but with less force? Hearing that he could blow himself up, Naruto's high spirits quickly sank. Okay, Professor. Flipendo. This time, only focusing a little and saying the incantation softly, he succeeded in knocking the target properly, without creating a dent in anything. Look, Professor, I can do it. I won't blow up. Indeed. Now, since Fukasaku and I have some business to finish later today, why don't you buy your equipment and meet us back here? After you're all packed, I can apparate you to Harry's house, where you can stay the day. Afterwards, I'll pick you up and take you to this place. When he said that, Dumbledore gave Naruto a piece of paper. After reading it, Dumbledore took it back and vanished it. Do you want to go? Of course. After spending 2 months studying, I need a summer vacation. Getting used to his antics, Dumbledore merely chuckled at what Naruto called a vacation, and watched Naruto run off to get these things. An hour later, Naruto returned empty-handed. Pardon me, Naruto, but where are your belongings? We'll need them before we leave for Harry's, Dumbledore asked. Reaching into his pocket, Naruto pulled out a piece of paper with Japanese writing on it. I put them all into this storage seal. You see, if I apply chakra to this mark in the middle, I can pull out anything I put into here. Dumbledore, perplexed as to how that works, asked another question. But what happens if the mark is ripped? Fukasaku spoke up. Do you see some of the smaller marks around the edges? Those marks are usually unique to each seal. If you break one, you can summon the stored stuff with another identical seal. However, some seals don't have those marks, and they usually release everything inside them as a safety precaution. I see. One more thing before we leave. Naruto, can you keep your world a secret? Even the name of your village? The ministry is, at this point of time, very nervous, and will likely try to perform a background check on you. Your story is that you were an orphaned child in a forgotten Japanese Muggle village. After getting some control over your powers, you left the village at a young age and found Fukasaku, who became your teacher. You later traveled abroad and ran into Harry. Do you understand? Pumped, Naruto brought a fist to his chest. You bet I do. Let's get going already. I wanted to be there an hour ago. With that statement, Dumbledore performed side-along apparition with both Fukasaku and Naruto. Luckily, Naruto didn't lose his lunch this time, since his was somewhat similar to a slow substitution jutsu. When they got there, Dumbledore pointed the way to Harry's house and left with Pa. However, when Naruto got to the right road, he saw Harry entering a house on the opposite side of the road as his house. He was escorted there by who must have been his family. Walking up to this new house, Naruto rang the doorbell. An elderly woman opened it and let him in. Harry was surprised to see the blonde from the graveyard. What did Dumbledore call him again? Oh yeah, Naruto. Harry had been told that Naruto's actions in the graveyard were a controlled form of wandless magic, like when he turned Aunt Marge into an even bigger blimp, released the snake from the zoo, and turned his teacher's wig blue. Hello there, Naruto. What are you doing here? He then leaned into Naruto and whispered. Ms. Fig is a muggle, non-magical and ignorant of magic. We mustn't reveal anything about wizards or our world. Okay. Naruto whispered back, then spoke normally. Our teacher dropped me off here. He thought you might like a friend. So, what can we do here? Well, she has an old TV she never watches. Want to watch some famous movies? Sure. I missed a lot of movies while I was away on. Naruto caught himself. He wasn't supposed to reveal Wizards or Ninja training with Fukasaku. With that, Naruto and Harry spent most of the day watching famous Muggle movies like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and Jaws. After the movies were over, the sun was lowering over the horizons, and Naruto's stomach roared. Hee. Is there any food here? Oh, don't worry about that, boys, Ms. Fig said as she returned. Let Ms. Fig take care of you. While we wait for dinner, would you like to see my cats? With that, she showed them the felines following her footsteps. This one's Snowy, she pointed to a puffy white cat. Here's Mr. Paws. She knew how to name this one. This small cat had huge paws. This is Tufty. This large cat almost had a mohawk of hair. And finally, meet Mr. Tibbles. This was a slender brown cat with brown stripes on its forehead and a red ribbon tied in a bow around its right ear. The last cat seemed to shock Naruto. Not that cat. Get it away from me. Seeing his distress, the cat seemed to stalk towards him like a predator, but then gazed at Naruto's stomach and fled out an open window. The other three then looked at Naruto's stomach and followed Mr. Tibbles. While he was scared of the demon cat, Naruto noticed that all four cats seemed smarter than normal. How did they sense Kyuubi and his seal? Ms. Fig also found something unusual in their behavior. That's strange. They never react like this to strangers. Would you two be a deer? Go catch them for me and bring them back? No way am I chasing after that devil cat again. It's been haunting Genin for generations. If you catch all four for me, I'll take you boys to the park and have a large picnic. Before Naruto could yell again, Harry slapped a hand over his mouth and told her, we'll be happy to get them. He then turned to Naruto, how about I catch Mr. Tibbles for you? Calming down, Naruto said, sure, but you're in for the chase of your life. With that, the two boys set out to catch their cats. Thinking quickly, Naruto went behind Ms. Fig's house, made shadow clones where nobody could see him, and had them search for the three other cats for him to retrieve. While the cats were startled by him, they were easily brought back to Ms. Fig's house. However, once he got back to the house with the first cat, Harry was already there with Mr. Tibbles. How did you catch the devil cat before? I caught even one? Harry then pulled some catnip and his wand out from behind his back. Oh sure, if you want to do it the wimpy way, can I have some of that cat stuff? Once all four cats were returned, Ms. Fig took them to the park with her cats and had a picnic. She thought the boys were good gentlemen, sitting calmly, eating her sandwiches. Soon afterwards, she and Harry saw Dudley heading home, and she knew it was time for them to leave. Mr. Dursley would sometimes lock the door after Dudley got home, and she would take Harry in for the night. However, she didn't have two beds for the two of them. So the boys started heading back to Harry's house while she picked up the picnic. However, Mr. Tibbles soon caterwauled. Hearing that, she knew something bad was happening. The half-Nezzle doesn't caterwaul unless it's for a signal system they had previously set up. She had to get to Harry, fast. As she hurried towards the underpass, which was between the park and Privet Drive, she felt cold. Too cold for early August weather. She then heard a snap and a strong thud, and saw a Dementor sailing backward through the tunnel with a broken arm. She then saw a large flash of light blue light, it must have been a Patronus, and watched as 2 more Dementors escaped out each side. When she didn't see any more Dementors appear, she was a wandless squib after all, she decided to see what happened. Inside the tunnel was a disaster. Dudley was down on the ground, looking like he was almost kissed. Harry was being supported by that blonde boy Naruto, and both had their wands out. Naruto seemed cheerful and said, "That's what I was missing. You can't have a vacation without a good fight." She quickly told them to stow their wands and hurry home, carrying Dudley between them. Once the boys arrived at the home, the Dursleys worried over Dudley like bees over a flower. When they saw their precious Diddykins, and Naruto had a laugh about that nickname, the trio were ushered into their living room. Before anybody could do anything else, a letter was sent flying through the mail shot and landed between them. Curious, they watched the letter become a face and speak its message. "Dear Mr. Potter, we have received intelligence that you performed the Patronus charm at 23 minutes past 9 this evening in a Muggle-inhabited area and in the presence of a Muggle. The severity of this breach of the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery has resulted in your expulsion from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Ministry representatives will be calling at your place of residence shortly to destroy your wand. As you have already received an official warning for a previous offense under Section 13 of the International Confederation of Warlocks Statute of Secrecy, we regret to inform you that your presence is required at a disciplinary hearing at the Ministry of Magic at 9 a.m. on the 12th of August. Hoping you are well, yours sincerely, Mafalda Hopkirk." Improper use of Magic Office Ministry of Magic. At that news, the whole house froze for a minute. Harry's spirits sunk lower than that crevasse. Jiraiya pushed Naruto into complete summoning training. Naruto was raging to Harry and himself. "Received intelligence. My 1,000 years of death. They must have been watching you like a hawk, or even set up this whole fiasco." Mr. and Ms. Dursley were both in shock at the letter and caring for their son. "Expelled? Doing magic? You did this to Dudley, didn't you? What did you do to him?" roared Mr. Dursley, shaking something Naruto almost mistook for a sausage link at Harry. "Nothing," Harry spoke, still in shock about that letter. "It wasn't me. Don't try to weasel yourself out of this, boy. Here we have proof. We knew you were bad luck from the start, and look what you did to our son. We should have let you starve outside our door where we found you." During that rant, Dudley started recovering. Quickly, Ms. Dursley got him a drink and a blanket. There, my little popkin." That got Naruto into another fit of giggles. "Tell us what happened. Who did this to you?" For a moment, it looked like Dudley wouldn't respond. But then, slowly, he raised his finger and pointed at Harry. "I knew it. How dare you do this to our son? I'm going to..." Mr. Dursley would have continued, but another letter arrived and spoke. "Dear Mr. Potter, further to our letter of approximately 5 minutes ago, the Ministry of Magic has revised its decision to destroy your wand forthwith. You may retain your wand until your disciplinary hearing on the 4th of August, at which time an official decision will be taken. Following discussions with the headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, the Ministry has agreed that the question of your expulsion will also be decided at that time. You should therefore consider yourself suspended from school pending further inquiries. With best wishes, yours sincerely, Mafalda Hopkirk." Improper use of Magic Office Ministry of Magic. And there's the next chapter. How do you like the Torah reference? Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. The reason why this chapter doesn't have a few changes is that the letters are government formalities. They, as well as some spoken parts in the trial, are going to be direct quotes since they're legality phrases, not character quotes. Can you leave me a review saying whether or not this is okay? Review critiques. No, we don't have angst, Harry. I didn't like him that much, and think that Voldy was the one influencing his angst, and it should only heighten visibly when Dumbledore's near. Since Dumbledore was nowhere near, and it's almost a scientific fact that Naruto's confidence and cheerfulness are contagious, Harry's acting better. Yes, the Dursleys aren't freaking out that Naruto is there when they get letters about Harry's weirdness. No, they don't yet know he's a wizard, or at least I don't think they do. They're more worried about Dudley and elated at the thought of having Harry's wand snapped. If I was them and heard that, I'd send a letter to the ministry asking for the honor of snapping Harry's wand in front of him, or at least front row seats to it happening. Yes, I changed the time and date mentioned on the second letter and removed the other letters. I didn't have as much dialogue between letter delivered and second letter sent, so that's why the time's shorter. This chapter had reached around 3,000 words by this point, and that's around my normal limit. Also, I want to time skip almost directly to the advance guard's arrival from here, then have 1 or 2 chapters in HQ, 1 chapter on the trial, 1 or 2 in HQ again, then time skip to riding the Hogwarts Express. Peace out. Anonymous GX, a new perspective. The surprising thing about this chapter is that a very negative anonymous review forced me to start writing this early so I can reply to him. Loyal fans, don't get any ideas. I was originally going to update Wednesday night, but juggled my schedule a little to let me release this chapter early. Epic fail. I admit that I'm a noob writer, making my first story, and am looking for either positive reviews, preferably with things people liked, or negative reviews about what I did wrong that will help me improve my writing skills or story and are worded at least somewhat nicely. Guests, no more. Believe it, or I'll stop following you. Review was near the line, but addressed an issue I myself was conflicted about: how often Naruto should say his catchphrase, and was decently written. But you, sir, made an epic fail of a review so bad and rude you were begging to be removed and made me reactivate moderate reviews. It's like you didn't even read my story at all, but decided, I hate it no matter what I may like or where this author may take the story later. Of the 50 things you found wrong with this asterisk 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 asterisk, how many of these were small grammatical errors or personal nitpicks about the plot? If it's a grammatical problem, tell me so I can go back and fix them. I already admit that I'm a bad writer and many other people could do better with my basic plot. However, unless you are a fanfic writer, and have written multiple stories with multiple chapters, you have no right to crush people for the simple fact that you love bullying those who don't like the same things as yourself. I've seen dozens other fanfics, quite a few of which were large multi-chapter stories, that had grammar, formatting, plot flow, and plotlines far worse than this story, and I don't see any reviews nearly as bad as what you wrote, and have actually seen praises, favorites, and follows for them. If you don't like a story because of its content that doesn't go against personal beliefs or desires, point out the mistakes and leave. If you hate it for any reason after a few more chapters, simply stop clicking back here for more, rather than give me a higher view count. For this chapter, I'll try to include some of Angst Potter. But to get in the mood, I decided to watch some of that Potter Puppet Pals episode once, then decided to try another source of anger that wasn't satirical. Namely, Epic Fail's review. So I guess I have to thank him a little, he sent it at the perfect time. If that was the real reason you sent me that review, I take back everything I said and humbly beg your forgiveness. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Now that that's over with, let's obey Arnold Schwarzenegger and get to the chapter. With Dudley still not feeling well, the Dursleys commanded both Harry and Naruto into Harry's room and took him to the hospital. Naruto found it to be a little barren of decoration, simple and very messy, but had enough room to walk around. While he was exploring his room, Harry was busy writing letters to his friends. Harry needed to let them know he was attacked by Dementors and wanted to know a few things. All of their previous letters had been vague, and said they couldn't visit, nor he could visit them. After sending Hedwig off with the letters, telling her that they should give him the full story or else suffer with her pecs, Harry plopped onto his bed. After exploring, Naruto decided to talk to the emotional boy. "Those are some mean parents you have, Harry," he said. "I'm surprised you haven't ran away from home already." "They aren't my parents, and I did once. but Dumbledore said I must come back here every summer. Harry said, angrily, Petunia Dursley is my aunt. Ever since I arrived here I was treated like their slave. My room was the cupboard under the stairs, and it was often locked and full of sawdust. I had to cook for them, clean for them, do their laundry, and even dust for them. If they wanted to leave the house, they dumped me with Ms. Fig. Remembering her ideas for a good day, namely her cats, Naruto shuddered. There were many nights where I had to go without food. Everything I got was a hand-me-down from my cousin, Dudley. Ouch. I'm sorry I brought it up, Harry. At least you have a home and friends. Oh really? Harry spat. How could your life be worse than mine? At that question, Naruto paused. How much should he tell, if he tells at all? Remembering what Dumbledore said about his new past, he started explaining his true past, but with a few tweaks. Soon after I was born, before my umbilical cord was even removed, a terrible disaster struck my home village. My parents died, the village leader died, many of the council died, and many adults, children, and a large part of the village were lost. The villagers were superstitious, and blamed it on a demon of ancient myth. At that, Naruto had to pause for 2 reasons. He had reached a sore subject for himself, and didn't know how to say it, or if he should say it at all. The second reason was said subject. A mere myth, you called me. Come here to my cage, you insolent brat, and I'll show you just how much of a fantasy 1 am. I'm going to, since I was born literally minutes before the disaster. They thought I was the demon's spawn, or even the very demon in a human disguise. There is no way I'd spawn with a filthy human. And don't you dare ignore me. Me, the powerful, my first and only caretaker, was able to protect me for a while, but later he became the leader of the village and had to leave me to myself. I grew up alone and unloved. Parents told other children to stay away from me, and taught them to hate me. The stores never sold me stuff I needed, like proper food or fitting clothing. My home was vandalized many times. Every year, on my birthday, I was chased, hunted, and beaten nearly to death. When I started showing my talents, many cried for my death, and the demon hunts happened almost weekly rather than yearly. After a year, I left and met Pa Toad. He adopted me and taught me ways to improve and control my talents. After many years of traveling and training with him, I ran into you at the graveyard. I then received this wand from Ollivanders. Naruto pulled out his wand, and Harry, who was beginning to calm down, looked at it with interest. Its shape is a Japanese kunai, a weapon of death. Its core is the tail hair of a thestral, which is an omen of bad luck and death. The wood is the exact same as Voldemort's, and can mean great evil in the dark arts. Seeing Harry's shocked face, Naruto put his wand away and finished his tale. No matter where I go and what I do, the day of my birth comes back to haunt me. Realizing that this cheerful blonde had a past far worse than his own, Harry felt nothing but sorrow and pity. If he thought his life was horrible, Naruto's went past rock bottom. I'm sorry I yelled at you. Nothing is making sense right now, and I took it out on the wrong person. Harry then pulled out his wand for Naruto to see. The phoenix feather in my wand came from the same bird as the feather Voldemort's wand has. I understand, Harry, and forgive you. So, are we friends and wand brothers? With that, they reconciled. A tapping noise drew their attention. Surprised that Hedwig would return so fast, Harry quickly opened the window, but it wasn't her, but a red toad. Naruto recognized the toad. Kosuke, is that you? Do I look that much like my brother to you? When the toad turned around, Naruto noticed that he had the kanji for silver written on his back rather than gold. My name's Gosuke, and Kashira sent me with a message for you. He says the plan for tonight has changed again. A group that contains a few of Harry's friends will arrive to take you and Harry-san to a safe place. When you get there, remember the address given to you earlier today to see and enter the house. Thank you, Gosuke. You are dismissed. With that, the toad returned to Mount Myoboku. Turning to Harry, he saw that his friend was confused. Did you understand him? Getting a silent no for an answer, Naruto explained. He had a message from Pa. Pack all your things and get ready to go. Your friends are coming to take us to a safe house. Thinking that these friends included Ron and Hermione, Harry and Naruto rushed to pack away all the things Harry had strewn around the floor and in the drawers into Harry's suitcase. When they were almost done, a huge ruckus came from downstairs. When Harry turned towards the door, Naruto was already through it and approaching the stairs. Seeing 8 wizards and Moody in close quarters, and himself in a crowded stairwell, Naruto figured he was in a bad place to fight if they weren't the escorts. While Naruto knew Moody, he didn't recognize anybody else. But Moody was an imposter before, and could be this time too. So Naruto decided to give them a greeting and see who they were. He quickly threw a kunai, which lodged itself between Moody's feet, then bolted upstairs out of sight. If that was really Moody, he might recognize it from when Naruto clone, Harry, Snape, and Dumbledore rescued him from that weird chest. He heard a few shield charms, but no offense. Then, from downstairs, a gruff voice, the Moody impersonator, called out. "Who's there? Is that you, Harry?" "This is Harry's friend." "Who are you?" "You at least should have recognized me in my kunai, Moody." Naruto replied, as Harry approached. Holding his hand out, Naruto stopped him from being seen. "Some of us are Harry's friends as well." At that new voice, Harry softly said a name and rushed downstairs. Idiot. He didn't double-check their identities. Sasuke did a better job than him during the Chunin exams. What if his friends are all fakes? Naruto got ready to quickly substitute with Harry and take the intruders on himself. But it wasn't needed. They were the ones who checked Harry's identity. Satisfied that he was the real Harry, they then filled him in on the plan. Seeing as there was no need to fight, Naruto slowly came downstairs. All 9 wizards turned to Naruto. "We should check his identity too. He might be an imposter," the man who was for sure Moody said. "You were locked in the 7th, and last, lock of your own chest a few months ago. I used my kunai and ninja wire to pull you out. While one of the kunai was spinning around you, it almost cut open your—" "That's enough," Moody barked. "This is the real Naruto, all right." Giving Naruto his full attention, he then pointed to each other person. "They're Lupin, Tonks, Shacklebolt, Doge, Diggle, Vance, Podmore, and Jones. Now, go upstairs and pack your things. Tonks, help them." "Thanks. This part of the house was looking a little too clean anyways. It's strange, my Muggle-born dad isn't nearly as tidy as these Muggle blokes." With that, the trio reached Harry's room. "Wow. This place isn't just clean, it's bare. Do you live out of your trunk, or did you know we were coming?" "Pa sent a messenger. He told us you were coming," Naruto said. "Pa is Fukasaku, right? Dumbledore introduced him to us. Interesting talking toad, using hand signs for jutsu instead of a wand for magic." With that, Naruto was shocked into falling onto the floor. Dumbledore first says to keep ninjas secret, then introduces Pa to so many strangers. Still wandering around the room, Tonks saw her reflection. "You know, violet's not my color." After a few moments, her hair became bubblegum pink. "Ah there. Does this look better?" What's that?" Naruto said, getting up from behind her. Turning around to see her, he exclaimed, "Sakura-chan, what are you doing here?" "Who's Sakura?" Tonks asked. "Sakura's a girl from my old village with naturally bubblegum pink hair. She's also known for her large forehead and her right hook. She'd often punch me, and often punched hard enough to launch me over the fences." "Oh sorry, I didn't know you'd react this way." With that, she concentrated, and turned her hair a bright orange. "How does this look?" "Oh yeah." Naruto cheered, "That's a color I'll never get." Bored of seeing this shout of praise both surprised Tonks and made her blush. However, her blush soon became tomato red and covered her entire face. "Hey, are you feeling okay? Your face suddenly looks feverish." Surprised at this, Tonks quickly returned her face to normal. "Now it's all better. Wait a minute, how'd you do all that? I didn't see you pull out your wand or use a jutsu." "Oh, I was born a metamorphagus." Seeing Naruto confused, Tonks made it simple. "I can change my looks using only my mind." "That's cool. I wish I could do it that fast. I have to use a jutsu, but it's noisy and throws up some smoke. An enemy can tell when I try to change, no matter how small." "Yes, well, we should probably head downstairs. You are all packed, after all." With that, the trio went downstairs and joined the rest of the escort outside. "Potter. Uzumaki. Listen up. Since Potter still has the trace, we need to use non-magic means of getting to HQ." "What's the trace?" Naruto asked. The trace is a charm that lets the ministry keep tabs on any young wizard or witch who is around cast magic. It records who was around what spell when and where it was used. Because of this, we can't apparate or use the flow, so we'll have to fly on brooms, which don't need a new casting of magic to work. Do you both have your brooms out? With that, Naruto unsealed his firebolt, and Harry got his out of the trunk. Seeing both boys holding the latest broom yet, Tonks got stars in her eyes. Now that that's settled, both of you come over here to be disillusioned. Wait a minute, Naruto interrupted, stepping forward. First you say, no spells. Then you say, fire away. Do we want to alert the ministry that Harry's around more magic? Hearing this, many of the company's heads turned towards Moody. Apparently, he had made both of those ideas. You've got a point, boy. Now get back into formation and stay there. Great, we have a clear night, we won't be able to use cloud cover. Naruto spoke up again. Even if we can be seen, that just means we'll be able to see our enemies as well. And if it is so clear, we'll know if an enemy is nearby because they'll be casting clouds to hide themselves. All of the other people there stared at Naruto. Not only had he argued with Moody twice, but his arguments made more sense than what Moody had in mind. We've got a smart lad here, full of constant vigilance. Now, when we kick off, we'll fly in close formation. Tonks, be in front, Harry behind. Me behind Harry, and Naruto will hover around Harry, between Tonks and myself. Lupin, hover under us, and the rest, circle around and above. Don't break ranks. With that, he turned to Naruto. Anything to say, Naruto? Thinking quickly, Naruto had one idea. He brought his hands together and formed the dog, boar, and ram. Transformation Jutsu. A cloud of smoke appeared, and to the shock of everybody, another Harry was standing where Naruto used to be. If they want Harry, they'll have to look twice. Hey Tonks, can you transform into Harry too? Surprised at the thought of decoys, Tonks shook her head. He's not my body size, and boys are harder for me to do. Why did you do that? Asked Moody. I thought we both said, no spells. Spells use what Dumbledore, Pa, and myself call mana with some aura. Chakra, what I did, uses a mix of aura and Kai. I haven't been caught yet by the trace, so it must be okay. Seeing the company's confused looks, Naruto said, Pa working on a book for Hogwarts this year. You can read it for more information. Alright then, there's a slight change. Naruto and Harry hover around each other between Tonks and myself. Don't get into a pattern, vary it up. If we run into trouble, both of you stay together. We'll fight them off. No matter who dies or cannot fly on, don't stop and head east. The rear guard will find and join up with you within 5 minutes and lead you to HQ. With no response from Naruto, Moody looked towards the sky. We should be getting the first signal any minute now. With that said, a shower of red sparks appeared in the sky above them. Angry, Naruto turned to Moody. I hope that wasn't your idea too. You just sent out a large target for the Death Eaters saying, Harry Potter and guards around here. This time, Moody took on Naruto's challenge. That was a diversion, to draw out any enemies into following that trail. It also signals us that surrounding guards are still alive and active. Or somebody else cast those sparks, or the Death Eaters were lying in wait before the guards set up the perimeter. Would Death Eaters ignore the most likely place a Harry escort would come from? Not likely at all. If enemies are out for Harry, they'd watch Harry's house. And here we are, in front of the house, in the open, exposed, and waiting for another signal that will likely mean we'd move out of any protective charms you've set up and become aerial sitting ducks. With that, Moody's face grew a little pale, and his eyes started spinning even faster. Stay in formation. Climb straight up quickly within the walls of the protective charm, and get ready to defend Harry. When green sparks appeared, Moody cried. That's the signal. Climb. As it turns out, that precaution was unnecessary. Nobody challenged them during either the climb or moving out. Naruto looked over to Harry. His face seemed blissful, and Naruto realized that flying cheered him up like a bowl of Ichiraku's miso ramen with pork roasted fillet. When Harry looked over, Naruto smiled at him and started zigzagging. Realizing what he was up to, Harry followed, playing a back-and-forth game of chase. This is no times for games, you two, Moody barked. Stay on course. We are on course. The one who must have been Naruto replied. moving in a horizontal circle around the real Harry. Also, our brooms are much faster than yours. There's no way a little wiggling will make us fall behind. Besides, you're the one that said we should fly in a varying pattern. Against those foolproof arguments, Moody could do nothing but fume. Town ahead. Bear south. Avoiding the muggles and lights, they flew around the city. There's some cloud cover. Then, remembering Naruto's warning, close ranks and bear southwest. Really, Moody? Thanks, Tonks shouted over the wind. I thought for sure you'd want some cloud cover. Did you forget what I said? Naruto called out. There may be Death Eaters waiting in ambush there. After a long time of flying, with many turns and near 180s called out by Moody, their hands became almost frozen to the broom handles. Finally, Moody barked out. Let's double back to double check that we're not being followed. And deliver Harry to them. Are we almost there? Naruto yelled. If so, then doubling back will tell them about where HQ is. We should either go in, or send a decoy group to loop around and check for Tails. Bested by the young blonde yet again, Moody yelled out, Doge. Diggle, Vance, Jones. Take Naruto, circle around, and look for Tails. If there are any enemies, draw them off towards the rear guard. They will help you defeat the enemy. Harry, stay with us, we're almost there. And with that, Naruto and his 4 guards broke off from the main group and started their wide circle. After half an hour, they didn't see anybody following either group and turned back to HQ. When they arrived, Naruto saw a bunch of dreary dark houses. However, one of the house numbers was missing. Naruto remembered Gasuke's instructions, and soon saw what must have been the hidden HQ. After receiving a warning to be quiet, Naruto entered the dark house. Wow! Including the top I got almost 3,500 words. Since Tonks actually turns her hair bubblegum pink in the book, I couldn't resist using that. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. Review critiques. Yes, Kashira is another name for Fukasaku. I looked it up on the Naruto Wikia. Gosuke is OC. Kosuke is the only messenger toad I know, but he's in Konoha waiting for Pain to invade. So I made him a brother. The name was easy. Kosuke had the kanji for gold, kin, and Gosuke had the kanji for silver, jin. If, however, a Japanese speaker has a problem with it, they can review and explain. Yes, Naruto seems smarter. However, I always saw him as smart when it comes to battles, thinking up strategies that take others, even geniuses like Shikamaru or all-seeing Sharingan and Byakugan users like Neji, by surprise. Also, Jiraiya taught him a little about observance and anticipating enemy plans right. Either way, Naruto will be smart under fire, pressure and more like our lovable idiot during any other time. Also, about Naruto's knowledge of magic, he just finished a Shadow Clone Enhanced crash course of magic last chapter. Naruto learned that if you can think of it, it's most likely possible. That's why he thought of wizards creating their own cloud cover for ambushes. That, and I didn't like all those inconsistencies and problems in Moody's paranoid thought process. Peace out. Anonymous GX, a new base. This chapter's going to be a bit long. I'd rather have one big chapter than 2 smaller ones. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. This one may have some original text, but it's not nearly as bad as other fanfictions I've seen that have been on here longer than 3 months. In this chapter, there will be a part where there is Person A, Person B, and Person C. If this ever occurs again, this rule will apply there as well. My underlines are hating me. If they reset again, can you tell me? Naruto could think of one word could describe every nook, cranny, and decoration in the escort's headquarters. Bleak. It seemed like the house had been abandoned for decades and only recently had been re-inhabited. With the corridors being so narrow, it felt like the walls, and the dust, were closing in on you. Soon after Naruto stepped in, his guards pushed past him, heading to the door opposite the entrance. Curious, Naruto followed. Beyond the door was a kitchen. Naruto could tell by the size of the table the escort and others were sitting at. However, before he could pass the doorway, a plump woman with flaming red hair appeared at the door. "I'm sorry, boy, but this meeting is for members only. You'll just have to wait upstairs with Harry, Ron, and Hermione." Hearing that Harry was upstairs, Naruto turned around. "Wait, Mrs. Weasley," said a familiar voice. Naruto peeked around the woman to see none other than Pa sitting on the tray of a high chair, apparently meant for an infant. That must be why Tonks and the others knew about him in Jutsu, Naruto thought. They got it straight from Pa since he's a member of this order group. But how much did he tell them? "Naruto boy is my prized student, having mastered Sage Mode soon before meeting Dumbledore. My last student started learning Sage Mode at around the same age as Naruto boy did, and didn't even get as far as Naruto boy when he died in his 50s. Naruto is ready to join the order. Besides, he will be needed during part of this meeting. But he's just a boy, not even 17, he's not an adult. The order is for adults only. Perhaps you consider your young ones adults when they reach 17. However, in Naruto's village, they become adults either at the age of 16 or when they graduate from the academy, which is usually around 12 years old. Naruto boy graduated from his village shortly before myself and the other toads found him, and has fought more times than many of you have." "Fine. Naruto can come in." "Naruto?" Having turned back towards the door, Mrs. Weasley noticed that he was gone. Not entirely surprised, Fukasaku mused about what Naruto was up to. "I think he went to go check on Harry boy upstairs. Let him be, we can call him down for his part later, at the end of the meeting." With that decided, Molly closed the door. The first thing Naruto saw when he opened the right door was a bushy-haired girl give a shriek of surprise. Flinging open the door, Naruto saw two startled owls, one of which was Harry's, three redheads, likely that woman's sons, and Harry sitting down. However, Harry and one of the redheads looked surprised the other. Twin redheads were there. "Stop doing that." The bushy-haired girl sighed to the twins, upset and weakly. "Hello, Harry," said Righty, beaming at him. "We thought we heard your soft, sweet voice. You don't want to keep your anger inside yourself like that, Harry, let it all out," said Lefty, also beaming. "There might be a couple of people 100 miles away who didn't hear you." "You two passed your apparition tests?" asked Harry grumpily. "With distinction," said Lefty. "It would have taken you less than a minute longer to walk down here," said Ron. With that said, he turned towards the now open door, where the stairs and the proper method of entering the room were. "Blimey, who's that?" Seeing who it was, Harry stood up. "Everyone, this is Naruto Uzumaki. He helped me escape from Voldemort in the graveyard, even battled him and his Death Eaters toe-to-toe for a minute." With that revelation, some muttering occurred and everyone looked at Naruto in amazement. "Naruto, these are my friends. Hermione Granger." "Pleasure to meet you," the bushy hair girl said, shaking his hand. "I wonder, what magic did you use to battle with you-know-who on equal footing?" "This is Ron Weasley," Harry continued. Said red-haired boy looked at Naruto with some mistrust, gave a simple hello, and looked back at Harry. "And those two are the twins, Fred and George." Harry finished, gesturing to the twins on the bed. "Nobody can tell them apart, not even their mom, Mrs. Weasley." Said twins gave each other a look. "But I'm George, and I'm Fred," they said. But Naruto noticed the look. Putting his hand briefly to his wand, he looked at them carefully, memorizing every detail. "Know you're Fred, and he's George. Don't try to fool the prankster prince of my village." "So you are a prankster too. What pranks have you pulled off?" "At one part of my village is a large memorial stone to all the previous leaders of my village. With each new leader, the memorial would extend and include his face. In broad daylight, I painted over them, and was in the middle of the last one when I was seen and chased off." Hearing that prank made the Weasleys smile. Painting a monument without being seen? That was hard to pull off, even with magic. Just how good is this boy? "That's good, but what else can you do?" Thinking about what to say, Naruto decided to instead play a trick on them. Making 3 hand signs, he called out, "Transformation Jutsu." When the smoke cleared, a third twin was in the room. After looking at each other, the trio marveled. "Cool. We're identical." Good job with the looks, Naruto. Do we really look that good? But I'm not Naruto, I'm George. Nice try, Naruto, but you didn't move from there, and George didn't move from here. Ain't that right, George? Right back at ya, Fred. I'm not joking, Fred. I am George. With that, the two twins on the bed shared a smirk. If you really were one of us, then you would be able to keep up with anything. Another one says. By that point, everybody in the room was confused. Nice one, Naruto. Since you look like us, act like us, and prank like us, you should be our triplet. The twin standing up looked at the twin that didn't just talk. Agreed, but I'm George, not him. With that said, Tonks walked into the room. Naruto? Are you in here? Seeing one extra twin, she knew what was happening. Fukasaku says it's time for you to come into our meeting. Drop the transformation and come down. Okay, Tonks. Release. With that cry, one of the twins on the bed became Naruto, who headed for the door. A quiet substitution jutsu works every time, where his parting shots at the remaining twin on the bed, he started to close the door. Hey, twin. Yes, twin. I think we have some competition this year. You know what? I have the same idea. With that, they ran to the door. Prank war at Hogwarts, prankster triplet. You're on, Naruto told them. Hearing those words struck fear into the hearts of the Golden Trio worse than Voldemort ever could. They hoped, more than anything else, Naruto wouldn't become a Gryffindor. That would bring the prank war into their own common room and bedrooms. When the door closed, Ron spoke up. There's something different about him. You mean, asked Hermione, besides that jutsu he used? That's the problem, confirmed Ron. Where did he learn jutsu? He obviously isn't a wizard, but why's he here? Harry rushed to Naruto's defense. He must be a wizard. He could see the Dementors and got a wand from Ollivander. Really? What kind of wand is it? You and Thestral Tailhair. Hearing that, both Hermione and the twins gasped. We know about Thestrals, the twins said. They can only be seen by those who've seen death. They're really bad luck. If you think that's bad, Hermione picked up, you is the same wood as Voldemort's wand, and means dark arts and curses. Seeing Harry's reaction, Hermione continued. But he told you already, didn't he? Yes, his and Voldemort's wands come from the same log of you. With that, both everyone else in the room grew pale. But I've spent all of today with him. He isn't bad at all. Well, he did break a Dementor's arm, and mention something called 1,000 years of death, but that's everything. He actually touched a Dementor. Bloody hell, that boy's crazy, Ron swore. Harry saw that it would take time for his two friends to accept Naruto. A few minutes back, downstairs, Naruto finally entered the meeting room. Finding a spare seat between Moody and Pa, he sat down. Looking around, all the members of the escort were there, along with Snape and others. Naruto wondered how many of them were in Moody's rearguard. At the head of the table was Dumbledore. Dumbledore stood up, gaining everyone's attention. Now that our guest has arrived, it's time for our last order of business. Naruto, this is the Order of the Phoenix. When Voldemort first rose to power, the Ministry was in a state of panic and couldn't properly counter the threat. That's why I set up the Order, to act as a task force against Voldemort, monitor the activities of known Death Eaters, and to make peace with any magical creatures he may want to add to his armies. Now that Voldemort has returned, so has the Order. Naruto, Fukasaku, can you trust them with our secret? I trust them with my life, and more ears in many places may be able to pick up any information you need to return home. Naruto blanched. Did Dumbledore really want this many people to know? He thought Dumbledore and Pa were working on it alone? However, Pa spoke up. They might as well, if they vowed to never reveal the secret. After getting many vows of agreement, Pa stood up, however much height that gave him. As you might have guessed, I'm no ordinary toad, or even a magical one. I came from a different dimension, where magic doesn't exist. After the mutters were silenced, Pa continued. In that world, the energy mainly used by you wizards for your spells can only be accessed through Sage Mode, but they haven't learned to use magic while in the form. The main type of energy used, instead, is chakra. This energy is actually a mix of your physical and spiritual energies, and are molded by the use of hand seals. Some of you have seen examples of this by myself and Naruto Boy, who is also from my home dimension. This made the advance guard and a few others nod for those that were Still in disbelief. I come from Mount Myoboku, and Naruto boy from Konoha, or the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto boy, can you show them a shadow clone? Surprised at this request, Naruto made his signature seal. Shadow clone jutsu. Everyone was astounded when another Naruto appeared, even though the technique clearly said, clone. Pa spoke up. This is one example of jutsu. Jutsus are ranked depending on their needed chakra, hand seal difficulty, and chakra control needed. D rank is the lowest, which then rises to A rank, followed by S and sulfur monosulfide ranks. Some jutsus, however, are dangerous to their user as well, or are too dangerous to use casually, and are declared forbidden jutsu. Unlike other kinds of clones, shadow clones are corporeal and can deal damage to enemies. Also, when a shadow clone is destroyed or dispelled, its memories are given to all Narutos. However, if the real Naruto is hit, the clones start dispelling on their own. Also, due to the amount of energy needed and mental strain, the shadow clone jutsu has been declared in B rank forbidden jutsu. Naruto boy, would you now perform the Rasengan? After that, both Narutos put their hands together and made a blue swirling orb. The color and the shape, as well as the feeling of power it gave off, fascinated many of the wizards there, including Dumbledore. This is a Rasengan, an A-rank spinning orb of pure destructive chakra. However, this is only its most basic form. By adding energy from nature, or your own energy converted into an element, the Rasengan can evolve and become a powerful forbidden S or sulfur monosulfide ranked technique. Naruto has also been working on mixing magic spells with the Rasengan. With that thought, many of the adults' jaws dropped. Tonks almost did it literally, but she caught it when it was around chest height and pushed it back in place. After the orb dispersed, Pa continued, if any of you hear about another world, a strange portal, or other beings like us that use chakra or hand seals, please let us know immediately. We're stranded here, and Pain, an enemy who killed my last student, Jiraiya boy, is likely to attack Konoha to preserve his secrets and capture Naruto. However, only Naruto is strong enough to battle Pain. Leaving Naruto here to keep him out of Pain's hands will ensure that Konoha will be destroyed. After getting a few murmured promises to help, Pa turned to Naruto. And now, Naruto boy, it's time for us to go. You still need to finish Sage Mode and learn Frog Kata, a fighting style that is greatly enhanced by Sage Mode. Wait a minute Pa. There's one more thing we have to do here. With that said, Naruto went and stood in front of Dumbledore. I need to ask you something. Can I serve as a witness for Harry's trial? Tomorrow? Of course Naruto. I was planning on asking you after the meeting, since Ms. Fig didn't get a good enough view of what happened to testify. You can stay here overnight, and join Harry and Mr. Weasley as they go to the trial. Dumbledore turned to face the order. With this, our meeting is adjourned. With that said, many members of the order, Snape included, started moving towards the hallway. Dumbledore went to the nearby fireplace and used the flow to return to Hogwarts. One of the members, however, moved slowly against the crowd towards Naruto instead. When he finally got there, Naruto noticed that this man was tall and looked like he just got out of prison. He was unshaven, tattooed, sunken, and had smelly clothes. Hello Naruto. I am Sirius Black, Harry's godfather and owner of this house. Did you just say to Dumbledore that you were there during the attack? Yes, sir. I protected Harry from them. I even managed to break one of their arms. With that, Sirius laughed out loud and hard. A Dementor with a broken arm. Oh, how I wished I could see that. I've been cooped up in here for a month. Anything to break this boring monotony. Crash. Tonks. All heads turned towards the hallway. Naruto smirked. You call that monotony? Then wall walked. More like wall crawled. The corridor was so narrow, over people's heads to see what happened. What he saw surprised him. Tonks seemed to have tripped over an umbrella stand made from a large troll's leg. I'm so sorry, she kept wailing. I'm so clumsy. I always hit it. Naruto got off the wall and gave her a hand. It's okay. We all have small accidents. Seeing his hand, Tonks let him help her up. At least nothing's broken, and nothing else will happen. But Naruto spoke too soon, for the curtains right next to them gave a screech and blew open. The painting behind the curtains started screaming. The woman in it could only be described as demented and crazy. Filth. Scum. Byproducts of dirt and vileness. Half-breeds, mutants, freaks, be gone from this place. How dare you? Befoul the house of my fathers. Tonks quickly turned towards the painting and repeated her apologies while fixing the umbrella stand. But this didn't quiet the portrait. Slowly, other paintings started to join her in yelling, and it was becoming too much for Naruto to handle. Slipping a hand on his wand, he entered sage mode and looked at the painting. While he couldn't do anything about the noise, he noticed an unusual spell woven between the portrait and the wall. He realized that it must be a permanent sticking charm, very hard to remove even with 50 strong wizards. However, Naruto had an idea. He marched straight up to the woman and yelled out over all the ruckus, "Be quiet or I'll remove you from this wall myself." Startled by this reaction, the woman became quiet, and so did her chorus. She saw a boy with makeup and frog eyes. "How dare you bluff like that, you failure of a transfiguration? There's no way you can remove me from this wall alone." Naruto, remembering his training with Jiraiya, replied calmly, "Yes I can, and I will if you don't stop shouting or insulting everyone here. They're the guests of the master of this house, and you are nobody but an insane painting. How dare you insult me, you freak, I warned you." With that, Naruto grabbed hold of the frame. Ignoring her continuing insults, Naruto concentrated on his aura and stored mana. Using them, he reached behind the portrait and into the spell. He then blasted the spell with his energy, making the mana being used freeze. Without a flowing energy source, the weaving began to unravel. Soon the spell was cancelled like a genjutsu. With almost no effort, Naruto lifted the portrait off the wall and outside of the curtains. This action left all the members of the order, and those who were upstairs trying to listen and watch the members, in shock. This boy had done what all of them combined could not. Apparently the lady was surprised as well. "Get your filthy hands off of me and put me back on the wall. I will not unless you take an oath of silence. Now that your permanent sticking charm is removed, anybody can throw you out. So will you be quiet, or should I break your frame in two?" Knowing that she was indeed at his mercy, and would be at the mercy of her son, the lady zipped her lips. Naruto put her back on the wall, told her, "If you really don't want to see them, don't open these curtains," then closed her off from the house. He then turned to his audience, still in shock. So, who was she? Coming back to their senses, most of the order left for the night. However, Sirius and Harry remained there, staring at the curtains. "That, Naruto and Harry, was my mother. Thank you for shutting her up, in more ways than one. We've been trying to get her off that wall for months, but we couldn't break her sticking charm. Come on in for dinner, I'm sure Molly has something splendid prepared." Dinner was indeed great. The adults tried to make small talk, and Naruto noticed some tension with the name Percy. After 2 months of the same boring meals, Naruto mostly ignored them and dug into the food with a vigor that could only be matched by Ron. When he came up for air, he saw Tonks' shape shifting into various faces to make the others laugh. After a few tries, Naruto decided to use his transformation jutsu and join the fun. It soon became a competition of who could make the funniest face, and Tonks won after many long rounds. Mundungus has his own audience, telling others how he humorously swindled people. At first, Naruto didn't know why he was in the order, but guessed he was the inside man for the underground. When dinner was over, Sirius turned towards Harry. "I'm surprised you didn't ask any questions about you-know-who." With that phrase, the atmosphere changed rapidly. Karma is against us, Naruto thought. Anybody should know better than to provoke karma. Sure enough, Harry got the adults to squeal to everybody but Ginny, but Naruto knew that the others would tell her anyway. There was some discussion as to if Naruto should hear, but Pa reminded them of the training Naruto went through, without slipping the secret to those who weren't in the meeting, and them that Molly had already invited Naruto into the full meeting as a member. Harry's first question about the seemingly inaction of Voldemort. "Oh, I don't know," thought Naruto, "maybe it's because he has only 7 followers and wants an army, perhaps? Or he doesn't want a big sign saying, 'I'm back, come defeat me.'" After confirming Naruto's suspicions, and talking a little about Dumbledore and the Order's efforts to counter Voldemort's recruitment abilities, they reached the Ministry of Magic. Hearing that they'd rather act like nothing happened and say Dumbledore was disturbing the peace based on words of a crazy boy, Naruto spoke up. "The Ministry are idiots. If a kunai is impaled in a person, you don't try to cover it and let it dig deeper, but remove the kunai and do your best to stop the bleeding. They should admit to Moldy Wart's return and do their best to crush him now, while he's vulnerable and low on supporters. Sure, there will be some public panic, but killing the enemies will restore their faith. At that, everybody turned to stare at Naruto. Sirius spoke first. Naruto, we don't just kill whoever we disagree with. If we confront the enemy, we plan on capturing and imprisoning them. And that will only serve you so far. If you capture them, it should be because you want intel on the enemy. But we won't kill our enemies, we won't take lives needlessly. But will it be needless? Serious boy? Fukasaku spoke up. If you had Voldemort before you, wandless, powerless, and at your mercy, what would you do? I'd kill him. But why? Fukasaku prodded. You could just imprison him, or snap his wand. But he'll just escape and wreak chaos and death to both the wizarding world and the muggle. That, serious boy, is why we kill as well. Imagine that one guy went to prison after killing one person. Every time he's imprisoned, he swears to escape within a month and triple the number of people he has killed. True to his word, he escapes and kills 2 people, bringing the total up to 3. After 6 more months, he would have killed at least 729 people. After a whole year, he would have killed 531,441 people. At what point will you decide that he's too dangerous to be alive and kill him? That both scared and surprised the Order. While they were surprised by the numbers, they didn't think that a toad could talk so casually about murder and murdering. We only kill if we can't capture and contain our enemies, and we don't want information. If a villain is past the point of redemption, we remove the danger to society. Mr. Weasley was the first to recover from the shock of murderers. Back to the question at hand. The Ministry fears facing the truth, and fears Dumbledore as well. Harry was confused by this. Why would he fear Dumbledore? Fudge knows, deep down, that Dumbledore's the better wizard. He's been leaning on Dumbledore for a long time, sending letters asking what to do. Lupin replied. He fears that Dumbledore's using lies and propaganda to create panic and take control of the Ministry. That man's asking for the boot, Naruto said. If he wants power, then he should act like he has it and use it to stop somebody, whether it be Moldy Wart or Dumbledore. And he is. Sirius said, smiling at Naruto's nickname for an enemy they feared to mention. Because Dumbledore failed to find a new defense against the dark arts teacher, the Ministry's allowed to choose for him. No doubt they'll choose either a spy or somebody they can give power to. We don't want the Ministry to act against Dumbledore though, Mr. Weasley said. They're likely to lock him up in Azkaban. And with Dumbledore gone, you know who will be free to do whatever he wants uncontested. Without opposition, he can get what he needs to win the coming war. And what's that? Harry asked. What does he need besides an army? Is it some sort of weapon? That's enough. They know too much already. If you want to tell them any more, you'll have to induct them. Good, said both Naruto and Harry. I'm already in. I want to fight. I'm sorry, Harry. Surprisingly, it was Lupin who spoke. You have no idea of the dangers involved here. Molly's right, Sirius. We've said too much. Now off to bed, you two. You don't want to sleep through Harry's trial, do you? With that said, the boys cleared their plates, went upstairs, and fell asleep. 4,000 words without either an. I'm on a roll, thanks to me combining 2 Order chapters into one. We're 2 chapters closer to Hogwarts. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. This one may have some original text, but it's not nearly as bad as other fanfictions I've seen that have been on here longer than 3 months. I'm somewhat sorry I had Ron swear, but that phrase is one of 2 things he's known for. Let me assure you, that if somebody swears something worse, something like Hedan, it will be skipped in typing or $&D. So Naruto's secret is revealed to the Order, only Harry and Dumbledore completely trust him and Fukasaku. He removed and quieted down Sirius' mother, and declared a prank war on the twins. Who's ready for an ongoing prank war? You'll have to wait a few chapters, but it will be relatively small things that escalate. I can't think of any real critiques about the story content here. There may be some about the dinner talk, but I'll have to see and answer each question individually. Peace out. Anonymous GXA new council admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. The reason why this chapter doesn't have a few changes to original text is that trials have a form of speech that is government formality. This form of speech, as well as the letters a few chapters back, are going to be almost direct quotes since they're legality phrases, not character quotes. Isn't there muggle laws that say if a courtroom trial doesn't follow the proper procedures of the law, you can have your whole sentence repealed by complaining to a higher court? Can you leave me a review saying whether or not this amount of original text is okay? The next morning was tense for Harry and Naruto. The trial's date and time were delivered the night before by Owl to Harry Potter, and was received by Mr. Weasley. Harry was to be in Amelia Bones' office at 9 in the morning. However, this didn't sit well with Naruto. Did the owl instinctively know where the secret HQ was? Or did the ministry know Harry was here? Also, if it was to be a trial, why did it sound like it was going to be a simple meeting, like a teacher with a naughty student? The plan was to leave at 7, wait in Arthur's office, then walk down the hall to the trial. When Harry's friends begged to come along, Mr. Weasley outright refused. Wanting to be helpful, Naruto decided to leave them a shadow clone. That way, Naruto could make and dispel another shadow clone to relay the news of what happened quickly. During a hearty breakfast, Naruto got to know a little more about Hermione and Ron. At first, they seemed okay with Naruto. But then Mundungus blabbed that he was a powerful killer even without a wand. Knowing that, they seemed a little nervous when they talked to him. When it was almost 7, many words of encouragement that only managed to stress Harry out were said. Naruto made the shadow clone, and the trio went down the brick road, off to see the wonderful Witch of Laws. A few minutes later, the group and Naru clone were waiting anxiously for the news. Hermione and Ron were the most nervous. Don't worry, Naru clone said. Harry's going to be cleared of all charges, without a doubt. Skeptical, Hermione looked at him. And how is Naruto so sure? Beaming, Naru clone was about to tell them why when a letter came flying through the door. Hermione saw it was for Harry, picked it up, and started reading. Shocked at the contents, she reread it. What's wrong, Hermione? Hermione handed him the letter. They moved it away and up. Those two-faced rats are using the dirtiest of tactics to make Harry look bad. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a watchman waiting for Harry to leave before they sent this letter. Calming down, Naru clone turned to Harry's friends. I'm sorry, but I have to let them know about this. I can't let you know how the trial goes. I understand, Hermione said. Tell them. Also tell Naruto thanks for offering to report the trial's results to us early. No problem, Hermione Neeson. With that, Naru clone dispelled. What was that Naruto said, at the end? Ron asked. I read a little bit about Japanese honorifics, Hermione answered softly. He called me sister. Maybe he isn't such a heartless murderer after all. Not bloody likely, Ron said. Only the twins realized the pun he accidentally made. Darn it. Mr. Weasley, we need to apparate now. The ministry moved the trial. It's now in courtroom 10 at 8. 8, you said? Then there's no time to waste? We have to get into the ministry now? The trio ran to the visitors' entrance, rushed through the entry regulations, and hurried towards the lifts. However, many people entered the lifts with them. The lifts were so slow, Naruto started to zone out. After reaching the bottom of the lift, the trio got off and descended the stairs the rest of the way. Mr. Weasley, why doesn't the lift go all the way down? Because Naruto, down here is where many Death Eater trials took place. Great, Naruto thought, if we lose, we're going front page, and they'll compare our trial to the last famous trials done down here. They didn't want the prisoners to escape, so they cut off easy escape points like the lift. Soon they were outside the courtroom, with minutes to spare. Alone, Harry entered the courtroom. He seemed to remember this room, from the pensieve in Dumbledore's office. The room seemed almost untouched since then, and still had the chair with the arm and leg restraints. Carefully, Harry sat in such a way that the restraints couldn't grab him. You got our letter about the change of place and time? Fudge's voice seemed startled, like he didn't expect Harry to be this early. No, but my friend managed to let us know about the change after we left the house. Very well, said Fudge. Since the accused is present, let us begin. Are you ready? He called down to a person with a parchment and quill. Yes, sir, said a voice Harry recognized. Ron's prodigal brother Percy was sitting a row below and a little to Fudge's left. Percy's eyes, rather than looking at a former housemate, remained fixed on his parchment, ready to write down every word spoken. Disciplinary hearing of the 12th of August, said Fudge in an echoing voice. With the start of the trial, Percy began taking notes. Into offenses committed under the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery and the International Statute of Secrecy by Harry James Potter, resident at number 4, Privet Drive, Little Whinging, Surrey. Interrogators: Cornelius Oswald Fudge, Minister for Magic; Amelia Susan Bones, Head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement; Dolores Jane Umbridge, Senior Undersecretary to the Minister. Court Scribe: Percy Ignatius Weasley, Witness for the defense, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, said a softer voice from behind Harry, who turned his head to see who it was. Dumbledore was striding slowly across the room, looking the same as a few months past when Harry last saw him. The members of the Wizengamot were muttering among themselves at Dumbledore's announcement. Most of the Wizengamot were obviously upset with Dumbledore, but two elderly witches in the back row waved in welcome. With the arrival of his grandfatherly figure, a powerful emotion had risen in Harry's chest. It was a strong feeling of hope, like the Phoenix song he heard before. "Ah," said Fudge, who looked thoroughly disconcerted at the surprise appearance. "Dumbledore." "Yes. You, got our message that the time and place of the hearing had been changed, then?" Harry noticed that Percy had stopped writing, as if he didn't want Fudge to look bad on record. "I must have missed it," said Dumbledore. "However, thanks to a lucky mistake, I arrived at the Ministry 3 hours early." "Yes. Well, I suppose we'll need another chair. Weasley, could you?" While Percy was getting up, Harry wondered why they'd need a seat for Dumbledore if they had planned on him being there in the first place. "Not to worry, I'll take care of myself," said Dumbledore pleasantly. He turned around, brandished his wand, and a comfortable chair appeared next to Harry. "Yes," said Fudge again, shuffling his notes. "Well, then. So, the charges, yes." He extricated a piece of parchment from the pile before him, rolled it open, took a deep breath, and started to read. Harry noted that Percy resumed writing as well. The charges against the accused are as follows: that he did knowingly, deliberately and in full awareness of the illegality of his actions, having received a previous written warning from the Ministry of Magic on a similar charge, produce a Patronus charm in a Muggle-inhabited area, in the presence of a Muggle, on the 2nd of August at 23 minutes past 9, which constitutes an offense under paragraph C of the Decree for the Reasonable Restriction of Underage Sorcery, 1875, and also under Section 13 of the International Confederation of Warlocks Statute of Secrecy. You are Harry James Potter, of number 4, Privet Drive, Little Whinging, Surrey? Fudge said, glaring at Harry over the top of his parchment. "Yes," Harry said. "Did you receive an official warning from the Ministry for using illegal magic 3 years ago?" "Yes, and yet, even with this warning, you conjured a Patronus on the night of the 2nd of August, said Fudge. "No." That one word seemed to startle the whole room. Even Dumbledore looked shocked for a moment, before his eyes twinkled almost dangerously. Fudge nearly fell out of his seat. No? What do you mean by no?" "It seems," Dumbledore replied, "that Harry is saying he was not the one to cast the Patronus." "Yes, but how could this be?" "I do not know for sure, but I believe," Dumbledore said, "that my witness, who is waiting just outside the courtroom, can help clear up the matter. Should I?" "No, Weasley, let the witness in," Fudge commanded Percy, who finished writing a sentence, got up, and hurried past the accused without so much as a glance. A moment later, Percy returned, followed by Naruto. He had his hands in his pockets, and was smirking. Some members of the Wizengamot were perplexed at his appearance. He had Japanese looks, but had blue eyes and blonde hair. When Harry got off the chair, Naruto asked him a question. "So, did you tell them the news?" Harry nodded. "How good were their faces when they got the news?" Remembering the various reactions, Harry grinned. "That good, huh?" You'd better give me that memory, I want to see. Only if you promise not to be rude at all to the people in this room. At that, Naruto paused. Did he want their faces to his thoughts on their behavior more, or their reactions to Harry? Fine. Take half the fun out of this trip. Why don't ya? With that, he sat down like Harry, and wasn't chained. Somebody better take a look at these, they don't seem to be grabbing me. Harry, who was sitting in a chair Dumbledore had pre-cast for him, couldn't help but smile at his cheek, and decided to let it slide. Full name? Fudge said, wondering at this mysterious boy. Naruto Uzumaki. Do you have a middle name? Nope. None at all. And who exactly are you? Said Fudge. I'm the student of Pa. You may know him as Fukaku. We have no record of a Mr. Fukasaku, said Madam Bones. Does his name sound like English? Naruto asked. Besides, I don't think you have a record for talking toads. But don't worry, you'll hear a lot about him when his book comes out. At this, many of the surrounding wizards and witches started murmuring. Do you want my testimony now? Fudge looked back down at him, his eyebrows narrowed. Very well, what is your tailored story? Harry and I had just finished a picnic with Ms. Fig, one of Harry's neighbors, when we saw Harry's cousin walking home. Since it was late, we started to follow him home. However, once the three of us reached a tunnel under the train tracks, it got very cold and the pools of water on the ground turned to ice. Harry muttered, Dementor, and I knew what was happening. The first one came from the opposite end of the tunnel. Harry got his wand out and said, Dudley, duck. Dudley turned around and saw the wand raised, supposedly at him, when the Dementor got him and started sucking. Hearing this, Fudge got excited, so Harry did use the Patronus charm. Nope. And before I continue my story, I have a quick question. What's the law about muggles who are already knowledgeable about the wizard world, like relatives of muggle-borns and half-bloods? Are they allowed to see magic? After a few scattered yeses and general murmuring, Naruto continued. Before Harry could help him, a second and third Dementor grabbed us from behind. They pinned us up against the walls and started to suck. I jumped off the wall, pinned my Dementor to the opposite wall, broke its forearm, then kicked it out of the tunnel when it released me. When I turned around, Harry was crawling away from his Dementor and towards his fallen wand. Before it could get close enough to kiss him, I pulled my wand out and cast the Patronus charm. You cast the Patronus charm? Fudge almost squeaked. Yep. I can even control its size a little. Want me to show you? After getting a few nods of approval from the Wizengamot, Naruto pulled out his wand and turned to face the side that didn't have any wizards. Expecto Patronum. From Naruto's wand came smoke the colors of light blue, white, silver, and red. The wizards were struck that a Patronus could be red. The smoke came together and became a giant toad. It had a white belly and a blue body with large red swirling stripes. However, unlike the rest of the colors, the red didn't seem to be glowing. The bipedal toad was also wearing a leaf on his head, chewing a piece of straw, and had a vine belt with a bamboo blade. Seeing this unusual Patronus got the crowd excited. However, Naruto looked at it with embarrassment. Why do his markings almost look like the ones from my academy graduation photo? Darn you, Kyuubi, I know you have something to do with that. I'm not admitting anything to you, brat, even if I was the one who caused it. When the hullabaloo calmed down and the Patronus disappeared, Dumbledore took the spotlight. That is the problem with the trace. Even though it can detect if an underage wizard is around magic, it can't tell who cast the spell he or she was around. As we can see, it wasn't Harry who cast the Patronus that afternoon. But it cannot be. Naruto must be lying. If he was there, his trace would have reported the spell as well. That would be true, if the trace was ever placed on him. Dumbledore calmly replied. However, Naruto is both an orphan from a Muggle village, foreign, and never had any proper schooling. He never had the trace placed on him, so he couldn't set of any alarm bells, for this ministry or the one in Japan. If you still doubt his testimony, it should be easy to figure out the truth. If Naruto indeed cast his toad Patronus, a priori incantatem should reveal it. Naruto, if I may. Naruto pulled out his wand. Priori incantatem. Sure enough, the first two spells to appear were two toad patroni, and here's our proof. However, something else worries me. Why were 3 Dementors in Little Whinging, where many Muggles live, and attack the only wizard has taken residence there, along with his cousin and wizard friend. Getting bored, Naruto started playing with his fingers. After a few minutes, Naruto had to get up for Harry to sit in the middle again. Dumbledore reminded them to the self-defense clause of the law, as well as what Naruto said about Harry not revealing magic to a Muggle since said Muggle already knew about magic. The entire courtroom voted unanimously for Harry to be cleared of all charges. Naruto was surprised. He fully expected Fudge to vote for Harry to be punished anyway. Dumbledore left quickly and quietly, before either Harry or Naruto could so much as say a word to him. Soon, the Wizengamot was leaving as well. However, before they could leave, Naruto called out, "Thank you for this meeting, I had some good laughs." And with those parting words, Harry and Naruto left the room. Outside, Mr. Weasley was pacing Merlin's beard. "You boys were taking so long, I thought they were going to punish you for sure. What happened in there?" The boys turned to each other, and Naruto spoke. "Let's tell you after we get home. I think Hermione and Ron want to hear this just as badly as you, and I don't want to repeat myself." Now, who saw that coming? That was the reason I switched to Ms. Fig's Pav when describing the Dementor attack, after all. It was either make a short, boring showdown between them that I would have to write down twice, or have this excellent plot twist. Well, now that you know what Naruto's Patronus is, I want to request a book cover. This cover will have Naruto in Sage mode facing front. His robes will be half wizard, left side, no house tie or crest. If you want and tell me, you can wait till he's sorted, update the picture, then mirror it so that the right side with the crest is the Hogwarts side, and half sage, right side unless you're mirroring to have the house crest, maybe the huge scroll across both sides. In his hand on the wizard side is the wand, clearly the wand and not a kunai. Use textures and round its edges off, pointed upwards and slightly over his back, where a large Patronus version of Yu-Gi-Oh's Ronintoiden sits, stands with its stripes pronounced in Kyubi red and its plants blue, white, silver as well. In his other hand is a Rasengan with a similar appearance to Lucario's fully charged aura sphere, glowing mist and all. Now you see where I got the term aura from, as well as the mist thing from Chapter 1? The background can be either Konoha's Hokage Mountain or Hogwarts. I don't care if your choice is in a perfectly fine or in a semi-destroyed, under attack state. If you can make the above book cover, please PM me or review me with your DeviantArt account. I got one so I can follow people, comics and possibly collect book covers. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. The reason why this chapter doesn't have a few changes to original text is that trials have a form of speech that is government formality. This form of speech, as well as the letters a few chapters back, are going to be almost direct quotes since they're legality phrases, not character quotes. Isn't there Muggle laws that say if a courtroom trial doesn't follow the proper procedures of the law, you can have your whole sentence repealed by complaining to a higher court? Can you leave me a review saying whether or not this is okay? Next chapter. The triumphant return to HQ. Peace out. We're almost at Hogwarts, Anonymous GX. A new fear, a new bully. My work's done for today, and so is this chapter. This chapter was originally going to be 2, hence the title. Now that you know what Naruto's Patronus is, I want to request a book cover. This cover will have Naruto in Sage mode facing front. His robes will be half wizard, left side, no house tie or crest. If you want and tell me, you can wait till he's sorted, update the picture, then mirror it so that the right side with the crest is the Hogwarts side, and half sage, right side unless you're mirroring to have the house crest. The huge scroll he carries can cross both sides. In his hand on the wizard side is the wand, clearly the wand and not a kunai. Use textures and round its edges off, pointed upwards and slightly over his back, where a large Patronus version of Yu-Gi-Oh's Ronintoiden sits, stands with its stripes pronounced in Kyubi red and its plants blue, white, silver as well. In his other hand is a Rasengan with a similar appearance to Lucario's fully charged aura sphere, glowing mist and all. Now you see where I got the term aura from, as well as the mist thing from Chapter 1? The background can be either Konoha's Hokage Mountain or Hogwarts. I don't care if your choice is in a perfectly fine or in a semi-destroyed, under attack state. If you can make the above book cover, please PM me or review me to let me know. I can't draw that well, so I want another to tackle this. Even if it's a friend of yours who likes HP and Naruto, tell them about this and ask if they can draw it. You can then upload a picture via camera or scanner, or send me a link if it is a computer image. Admins, if I have too much original text in a chapter, please give me a warning review, PM with said chapter, and please give me 12 hours to alter it. This will let me remove the questionable material without having to email your support to find out what was wrong and wait a few hours for a response, just to edit the one paragraph that got this story removed. If the courtroom's reactions to Harry and Naruto's news was funny, Grimmauld Place was almost hilarious. The audience was first surprised that everyone, including Fudge, voted that Harry to be cleared. When Naruto told them why, they had varying levels of reactions. After they all recovered from the shock, and some falls to the floor, Naruto watched their reactions. Ron looked at Naruto with a little more respect, then quickly switched back to distrust. Hermione was thankful that Naruto cast the Patronus rather than Harry. Many of the adults saw the flaw with the trace and merely smiled. Sirius, Fred, and George were looking at the duo as if they wanted memories in order to watch it live as well. Fred and George also had looks that seemed to say no fair. We're not at Hogwarts yet and you already got a good prank in. Well then, Naruto said, if the trial's really over, I should probably spend the night here. Who knows? I may get a letter saying I broke some wizard law and have to go to court. That got even the adults laughing. When the news finally sunk in that Harry was cleared and Naruto wouldn't get a letter, the whole house was graced with a feast by Ms. Weasley. During said feast, everyone else's Hogwarts letters arrived. Everyone was shocked that Ron and Hermione made prefect, and they received mixed reactions from everybody. Naruto, not fully aware of what being prefect meant, mostly ignored it. When the list of school books were read, everybody took notice to one in particular. The Three Energies and How to Wield Them by Fukasaku and Albus Dumbledore. Optional. Fukasaku. Harry read, isn't he your teacher Naruto? Yep. He and Dumbledore were working on various things with chakra and magic. How they can be mixed, different ways they can be used, and how to unlock chakra with magic. I just wonder if Pa gave away the secret to Sage Mode in there, since wizards use mana as well. But why is this book optional? Dumbledore said it would be part of an optional class Pa would teach. Besides that, I don't know too much about it. Correct Naruto boy, said teacher said, appearing from the doorway. And here's a free copy for you, since you did help write it a little. After a word of thanks, everybody crowded around Naruto as he took it from Pa. The cover was basic, with a yin-yang sign that had 3 differently colored commas, or tomo, instead of 2. The circle was surrounded by strands of what must have been mana, since it had the same color as one of the tomo, spiraling outward from the circle. Naruto opened it to the table of contents page, and Hermione read aloud the chapter titles. Prologue. What are mana, aura, and kai? Chapter 1. How does mana and aura make magic? Chapter 2. How does aura and kai make chakra? Chapter 3. How to unlock chakra without magic. Chapter 4. How to unlock chakra with magic and its dangers. Chapter 5. Basic hand signs for chakra jutsu. Chapter 6. Basic jutsu and element styles. Chapter 7. How to mix mana, aura, and kai using a wand and its dangers. Chapter 8. How to do wandless magic. Chapter 9. The Stage 1 Rasengan and how it mixes magic and chakras. While the chapters were all interesting, the one that struck the wizards the most was Chapter 8. Could they really learn how to do wandless magic in the Toad Professor's class? Most, if not all, of the wizards there, student or adult, decided to get a copy of this book. However, looking around, Naruto saw that Ms. Weasley was missing from her own lunch, and wondered where she was. Lending the book to Hermione, Naruto left the kitchen. After searching downstairs and most of the upstairs, Naruto found her in one of the many rooms. She was sobbing, and in front of her was a dead Ron. But how could Ron be dead up here if he was alive downstairs? Ms. Weasley, still sobbing, cried, "RR ridiculous," pointing her wand at Ron. Which spell was ridiculous again? Naruto thought back, as he watched Ron turn into another redhead, Then her husband, the twins. The redhead at the trial. Harry, oh right. That anti-boggart spell. Let me handle this, Ms. Weasley. No, she practically shrieked. I can do it. Leave me, you'll probably just kill it. Isn't that you're trying to do? Naruto asked. Let me take over. With that, Naruto stood in front of her and pulled out his wand. He was expecting the boggart to turn into Tsunade in a drunken fit, or Sakura, or Orochimaru, or maybe even that poltergeist he met in Hogwarts. But it wasn't any of those. Instead, there was a pile of people Naruto recognized. Sakura, Hinata, Ayame, Tuchi, Tsunade, Iruka, Kakashi. Dozens of people were stacked up on each other, and were all dead. Sticking out of all of their bodies were large black poles, the apparent cause of death. Sitting on top of all of them was a man with an Akatsuki cloak, many of those black pole piercings, bright orange hair, and purple mulet-ringed eyes. Naruto realized that this man was alive, and matched the description given of the main path of Pain. Naruto, Pain said, you've failed to protect Konoha. All that remains is dust and a crater. You will never become Hokage. I've killed all your precious people. The few people of Konoha that still live curse your name for abandoning them. Shocked Naruto almost couldn't do anything. No, that can't be true. You're just a boggart. But I am also Pain. I will destroy Konoha and all you hold dear. And you, trapped in this dimension, can do nothing about it. With that remark, Naruto lunged at Pain and started to beat him. You won't take away my precious people. You won't destroy Konoha. I will return and stop you, believe it. Naruto. Stop this. Calming down at Molly's words, Naruto looked at Pain. He was bloodied, and had many broken bones. Suddenly, Pain and the pile of people he was sitting on vanished, leaving behind a limp little imp-like goblin, but was like a muggle goblin rather than a wizard one. This must be a boggart's true form. Realizing that Pain really was just a boggart, Naruto pulled his wand back out. Ridiculous. That overpowered spell made the boggart vanish. Who were they, and who was that guy talking to you? Molly asked. They were my precious people from Konoha, my village, Naruto answered, with tears in his eyes. That was Pain on top. He killed my last teacher, pervy sage Jiraiya, and almost killed Pa. He's also after me, for something he needs in order to take over all of my world. Booty can't let him do that. I have to take him down before he destroys everything. Hearing his determination shocked Ms. Weasley. Here was an orphaned boy she thought was a trained assassin, who could use his speed and strength to take out his enemies before they could even draw their wands. Who could clone himself to take down multiple people at once? Who could make one of those upgraded energy balls to destroy an entire city? But here he was, crying at the thought of losing his precious people. Then it struck her, he had the same fears as herself, but worse. Knowing why he fought and killed gave her a new perspective of this blonde orphaned boy, and she realized she'd probably do the same. I'm sorry. It's okay. It was just a boggart, and wasn't really them. I meant I'm sorry for how we were treating you. Hearing that you would kill without another thought scared us. To be honest, I don't remember if I have killed anybody on a mission. I've usually just beat them senseless, then either continued on my way or captured them with my teammates and brought them to prison. Hearing that this trained killer had restrained himself helped calm Molly down. Then, remembering what Fukasaku had said about the day of his birth, she hesitantly spoke. I'm also sorry you lost your parents. If you want, I can be your mother. Hearing that shocked Naruto. Sure, he had called Hermione sister, but that was because of how close he felt to her. That, and her study habits made her seem like she was his big sister, even though he was older. Could he have a real family? Crying all over again, Naruto ran up to Molly and hugged her. Thank you, Okawa-san. Understanding what he meant, Molly returned the hug. After a few minutes of embracing each other and crying, the two returned downstairs to bring out the dessert. When everyone saw them walk in hand, they wondered what happened. But seeing as Molly had opened up to the boy, many of their thoughts of a cold killer left to be replaced by what a Weasley would call family. Only Ron, who was busy gorging himself, didn't notice. After the feast, Pa turned to Naruto. Naruto boy, it's time for us to do our training. We still need to do the final part of Sage Mode, and you have to learn Frog Kata. Let's hurry, because we have less than a month to train hard before Hogwarts starts up. Taking his book back. From Hermione, who was about to start Chapter 2, and collecting his things, Naruto and Fukasaku left to train who knows where. A few weeks later, the Golden Trio were sitting on the Hogwarts Express. After Naruto had left, they had gone to the bookstore to see that they had run out of Fukasaku's book, and had to order reserved copies. When they arrived, Hermione dug into hers with gusto. Then, at the end of August, it was time to head to King's Cross Station. There were some guard difficulties with Moody, and they had made it to the train with 10 minutes to spare, and were lucky enough to find an empty compartment. "I'm surprised we haven't seen Naruto. He said he was going to Hogwarts," Harry said. "He might arrive later," Hermione comforted him, "or maybe he's in a carriage we haven't walked through yet. Or maybe Dumbledore realized he was a danger to students and cancelled his school registration," Ron all but spat. "And how do you know Naruto so well?" Harry argued. "You've barely seen him, let alone spoke to him." Seeing an argument start, and not wanting her friends to have another Cold War like last year, Hermione intervened. "Ron, we're supposed to be up in the prefect carriage. Harry, if we see Naruto on the way, we'll tell him where you are." Hermione then dragged Ron behind her to the front of the train. After a few minutes, Harry realized how lonely it was to be riding alone. He had never traveled to Hogwarts without him, and he missed company. When he was about to get up and look for his friends, Naruto appeared at the door. "Blimey Naruto! Where have you been? We tried to send you an owl, but Hedwig returned out of breath and with her letter unopened. I guess it came when our training was really intense. I was probably working on the wind-style Rosin Shuriken at the time. When you add Sage Mode, that thing gets destructive. Whatever that is, it must be powerful. How destructive? I was using it to slice off and destroy mountaintops before magicking them back on. That powerful? I haven't even heard of a spell that can do that. What else have you been working on?" "Well, Pa tried to do fusion with me. Basically, he becomes stuck to my shoulder and doesn't move. That way, I can fight while he draws in mana for me to use. However, something was stopping us from fusing at all. But I mastered Frog Kata. Pa says that once we reach Hogwarts, our training will just be reduced to reviewing the Frog Kata and all other jutsu I already learned. What have you been up to?" "Harry, we've been cleaning out Snuffle's house. There were pixies, snapping boxes, and many other dark things lying around." Seeing Naruto's confused face, Harry leaned in closer. "Snuffle's a serious name in dog form. He's an unregistered animagus. Since he's an escaped criminal, we can't use his name around others." "Oh, sounds a little fun. Do you know if the twins are up to anything?" "Well, they have been working on candies to make you ill, but I don't know about anything else." "Thanks Harry." The door to their apartment slid open a few times. At first, it was Ron and Hermione, coming to visit Harry. Then, one by one, 3 people asked if they could join them, then sat down. Naruto knew Ginny, and was introduced to the other 2. Neville, the boy carrying a plant, seemed like he had a lot of potential but was weighed down by his insecurities. Naruto was reminded a lot of Hinata. The second girl, who was wearing cool glasses and reading her magazine upside down, was mysterious. "How was your summer, Luna?" Ginny asked the new girl. "It was quite enjoyable," Luna said dazedly. "You're Harry Potter. But who are you?" "Naruto Uzumaki." "Interesting, Whirlpool of Phi. That's not how the name translates, it's Maelstrom." Naruto shouted, surprising everyone else. "Oh yes. I always forget that translation. Whirlpools and maelstroms are so similar, you know." Ginny, realizing that she was the only one who knew her, spoke up. "Neville, Harry, Ron, Hermione, Naruto. This is Luna Lovegood. She's a Ravenclaw in my year. Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure," Luna sang. With that, the room grew silent for a while. It was Ron who broke the silence. "Oi Harry. You'll never believe who's the Slytherin prefect. Please don't tell me it's Malfoy." "Yep. And we can be sure he's gonna abuse his power." "Well, Hermione and I have to patrol the hallways along the train. I just hope we find Crabbe and Goyle while we're out there." "Ron," Hermione scolded, "we're not going to stoop down to Malfoy's level. We're Gryffindors, not Slytherin gits." "Oh please?" Ron pleaded. "We can make them write lines over and over. That should kill them." He then hunched down and pretended to be writing on a board with absolute concentration. "I must." look like a baboon's backside. With that, everybody laughed, even Naruto, who didn't know what Crab and Goyle looked like. If you told your brothers you said that, Naruto praised him. In between laughs, it'll restore their faith in you. After spitting it out, Naruto fell back into a laughing fit. Soon, he was rolling around on the floor, along with another person. After a minute of repeating, baboons, backside, and the others staring at the two, Naruto realized that he had somehow gotten into an embrace with the person he was laughing with. When he realized it was Luna, a hot blush came to his face and he quickly got back into his seat. His actions were mirrored by Luna, who was given her magazine back by Harry. After another awkward pause, Naruto realized he was still being stared at, and tried to change that. I can't wait to reach Hogwarts. Oh, why do you guys have 4 different colored uniforms, and what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff? Hermione answered this one. Not all of the students live and sleep together. There are 4 houses, based on the 4 founders. The Sorting Hat reads your mind and decides which house you'll go to. Gryffindor is for the brave, and myself and many of our friends are in that house. Ravenclaw is for the wise, and you just met Luna. Hufflepuff is for the loyal, and you haven't met any of them. And Slytherin is the greatest and most noble house of all. This voice came from the door. Naruto saw it was a boy with slicked down hair and a green crest with a snake. Behind him were 2 boys, who must have been Crab and Goyle. He must be a Slytherin, and why snakes again? Is known for the cunning and ambitious. If you want to go far, you will do well in Slytherin. Malfoy. That one word clued Naruto into his identity, and Naruto had to agree on their assessment of the boy. Manners Potter. I'm a prefect, and I can see that you are not. That means I can punish you for any misdeed I see you do. Maybe, Harry said, but a git with a badge is still a git. That got everyone not in Slytherin to laugh. Naruto decided to join the fun and insult this rude boy. Why don't you crawl back into the sewers to be with your family? That continued the laughs, and made Luna roll onto the floor again. Watch yourself, Potter, Blondie, because I'll be dogging your footsteps. At that, everyone who knew about Sirius, except ignorant Ron, went silent. Step out of line, and you'll wish you hadn't. With that, Malfoy and his cronies left, leaving the door open. Angry, Naruto put his hands together. Hermione recognized it from Fukasaku's book. It was the tiger seal, commonly used in fire jutsu. But before she could warn him, she saw chakra gather at his fingertips. That was weird, because the book said fire jutsu come from the mouth. She then heard him say something softly. Leaf Village secret finger jutsu. With that, Naruto ran out the door after Malfoy, who had just opened the door to the next car over. All Hermione and the rest heard was a large crash. Before they could get up, Naruto walked back in. There. I feel better already. He probably won't bother us again. Pardon me, Hermione said, but what jutsu was that? I didn't recognize it from Fukasaku's book. Oh, my sensei taught it to me. It's 1,000 years of death. This is my first time trying it with chakra though, I might have overdid it a little. Wondering what he did, the group ran for the hall. However, they only saw Draco lying on the ground, on the far side of the other car, with a burn spot on his rear and his cronies about to try getting him up. Apparently, other people in both cars heard the crash too, and peeked out their doors to figure out what happened. When he was lifted to his feet, Draco slowly recovered, looked back at Naruto, and called, "My father will hear about this." "Ooh!" Naruto yelled back, "Will you tattle on your mommy too?" "I knew it. You're just a big mama's boy." With that, Draco was carried into the next car, and everyone in the 2 cars who heard what Naruto said fell down laughing. Why hadn't we thought of that before? Was the collective thought going around. The only person who hadn't recovered by the time everybody else were in their compartments was Luna. After a few more minutes of rolling and laughing, Luna got up and looked at Naruto. "You're funny," she said. "I hope we can be friends."